What's going on, everybody? Don't mind that background. There's definitely no ulterior motive there. How's everybody doing? I'm really excited for our guest tonight. I've known him for a little while, and lately, this guy's been contemplating leaving YouTube. We can't let that happen. So, per usual, what's everyone drinking? I know it's only a Thursday night. Some of you are animals. Where's everyone from? What are you drinking? I'm drinking Gatorade we have at home, only it's so much better. Body Armor from the great state of Texas. Kansas. Charlie, what's going on, dude? Hopefully I'll see you soon. Albuquerque. All right, word. A little bit of housekeeping really quick. Then we'll get right into it. We haven't gone live for a little while. Apologize about that. I had a spell of vertigo a little while ago. It lasted for like 2 weeks. Some of you know what that feels like. It's not fun. I don't even have like really good memory from that 2-week span. Making videos was very difficult. It was pretty rough. And day job's been a little crazy, a lot of traveling. Just haven't been in front of my desktop computer for a little while, but the vertigo was pretty bad. But we're past all that now. Yeah. Oh, last weekend or 2 weeks ago, it's probably about 2 weeks ago, we went and toured the Texas Weapon Systems shop. Full tour of the shop. We did a really cool interview with Nelson and Nelson, senior and junior. Went out for like a full range day. It was so cool. That video is coming out Sunday. We'll do a full tour with those guys, kind of show you the family dynamic behind that company that's been around since like 2008. TWS has been around that long. Also, been really busy with Lethal Weapons. I'll touch on it briefly. We do events. We do Kalash Bash. We do this other thing called Lethal Weapons. It's a retro gun event. So if you're into like that kind of stuff, like bone stock, Cold War era guns, it's a big retro era gun shooting competition at Eagle Lake, Texas. We're going to have like 650 match tickets available. We've never had that many match tickets available before. It's going to be a major undertaking, but depending on how you buy your tickets, you could potentially shoot 16 competition stages. You could shoot 2 matches. We may even open up a third shooting competition, all within a 3-day span. It's really the most amount of competition you could possibly do in a weekend. And what's really cool is it's all with retro guns, carry handles, FALs and P5s and everything in between. That's October 19th, 20th. So feel free to go follow Lethal Weapons on Instagram or Facebook. That's where we post all the updates. There's your date. We have a little sizzle reel kind of getting you ready for what is to come. And the ticket date will be announced very soon. We're just trying to get the website done. And that's all I have to say about that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring him up. This is Brad with M26 Lemon Grenade. Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Man.
Side note, a buddy of mine just told me to shove that commie trash up my bunghole. So that's how we're starting the night off.
It's a true friend.
Yes.
Well, Brad, there may be some people here that don't really know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself. And I'm sure most of the people here know exactly who you are, but let's pretend some people don't.
Well, M26 Lemon Grenade's my handle. My pronouns are Sherman Tank. Please use them correctly. I don't have much going on. I have a YouTube channel. That's about it. I don't have social media, anything like that. My content is basically these days just Kalashnikov stuff. I just do Kalashnikov videos. Try to keep it interesting. Try not to do the same stuff everybody else is doing. Everybody's got like cult videos. Everybody's got the Wasser 10 videos. Everybody's got a PSA video. So I try to do things that are just a little bit different. I try not to be repetitive what everybody else is doing. I got some veteran stuff, salt and peppered in there somewhere. That's about it. It's about all I got going on. I love guns, and making YouTube is my hobby to my hobby, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, man. I want to say you and I met on Instagram first. I didn't really know who I was talking to. You went by Lord Humongous. Sometimes it was M26 Lemon Grenades. Sometimes it was another name because he changed it constantly.
Yeah,
But
like I've been on Instagram since like 2015, and
yeah, wow.
I really wasn't interested in like an audience. I didn't want a bunch of followers. There's like 10 people on Instagram I was interested in talking to. So I would just change my name like every like 3-4 months. Like it was just dumb shit, whatever I came up with, like neighborhood warlord and uh, the Ghost of Christmas Kalash and Clash Country Gentleman, just dumb shit.
It's a good name.
And yeah, just whatever I thought of that month. It's just like, yeah, let's just throw that out there. So it got really difficult for the people who didn't know who I was, like really like you, like who the have I been talking to this guy for the whole time?
That's exactly what happened to me. I had followed your channel. We had several DMs back and forth, and I would see your memes all the time. And I watch 9-hole reviews all the time. And Henry posted this video. He done a podcast with you, but the video that I saw was his M16A2 like history video, and he brought you on to do like this full vignette on your time in Iraq running the full length M16A2s. How you were injured quite badly and your time in Iraq. And at the very end of I was captivated to watch the whole thing a couple times. And at the very end of the video, Henry says, "Now, if you're okay with spicy content and you want more of Brad, here's his Instagram, M26 Lemon Grenade." And I'm like, oh, that's that guy.
That's the dude.
That's the dude. That's the meme lord.
I know
Okay,
that
I get
guy.
it now. Yeah.
Well, that video, the M16A2 video, was funny because I can't remember his name, but like the lead engineer on updating the M16A2 actually commented on Henry's video and said, "I love this." So that was like an amazing accomplishment for Henry. It was just like popping champagne corks. The the guy that was responsible for the M16A2 said, "Good job, sir." So that was a big deal.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and I don't remember. It was shortly after that. I think I'd gotten in touch with who did I get in touch with?
We know a lot of the same people.
Yeah, like Tufu and Angel of Verdun. I think I reached out to Angel of Verdun and I was like, yo, I just kind of figured out who Brad was this whole time through a 9-hole review video. And somehow you and I got in touch and we spoke on the phone a few times, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty cagey. I get fed up with the internet quite often. I just like go on hiatuses. Like, you know what? I'm just done for a while. I just need to take like 2 months, read some books and get some sunshine. And yeah, so you just kind of caught me in between those hiatuses.
We know. I think most people here watch your channel. And one thing about your channel is not only are you like brutally honest to the point where it hurts a lot of feelings, but you do kind of let people in on your mental state a lot, all the way from time in Iraq, how you kind of got through a lot of those struggles, to now just dealing with like online bullshit struggles and wanting to step away from the internet all the time. So you're very open about that. So I think a lot of us have seen that side of you.
Yeah, I get to a point where I'm like, you know what? Let's unplug the router. It's fine. I'll just go hang out in the garage and build Kalashnikovs for a little while. And then if I'm feeling like it, I'll plug it back in.
So why do you think you have built such a reputation of being unapologetically honest to the point where it does seem to hurt a lot of feelings? Like you said on the phone, you've got a butt ton of videos. A very small portion of those videos are maybe talking about PSA quality control issues. So it's such a small fraction of what you do, but you've kind of just been labeled as the guy that poo-poos PSA.
I don't know. I generally just do videos on whatever project I got going. Oh, just kicked my table. So I actually had two videos of me showing that they're not riveted correctly. One of them was my own Gen 3. And it's been deleted like a long time ago when I got, when somebody dropped my home address the first time. I just deleted everything. But it was just more of, kind of like, I guess, my passion for the Kalashnikov, that when I see something as stupid as not using dimple your receiver into your trunnions and using swell nicks, it just irks me. And that like passion for the platform comes out, and this is what you're buying. And I guess that just rubs people the wrong way. But I don't know. I think it's just more of just my delivery combined with just the cult like following PSA has, and that's the only way I can describe it. It's a cult. Like if you talk to like people that are like diehard PSA fans, like, and you say anything negative about that company, you better be prepared for the talking points, baby. You know, they I don't know if PSA like sends out a pamphlet on what to say when people don't like their brand, but you always hear the same talking points and you get attacked. Like, I don't mean to sound like a negative Nelly, in that regard, but again, 6 videos out of 100 actually mentions PSA. One of those was actually me recommending a PSA product, me saying, hey, buy this upper. So I only got 5 videos that are actually kind of critical of them, and I'm on everybody's radar as like the anti-PSA guy.
Oh man, when you started making videos, I've never had so many DMs of people that are like, so
You're
when are you going to comment on PSA not dimpling their receivers? I'm like, I get it. I
You're welcome.
totally get it. Yeah. That M26 lemon grenade guy. I get it.
Well, I didn't even realize it, but there was like a whole 20-page like Reddit page, like Reddit thread or whatever about me. It's like, I had no idea that there was people talking about me on Reddit. I don't go on Reddit. And I just, out of curiosity, like somebody sent me the link and I was like looking at it and I was like, half the comments are telling me to go F myself. It's like, oh, that's okay. All right. Oh, that's pretty graphic.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't go on the internet unless I have to.
Yeah. And I don't want tonight to all be about PSA because I think that's not, I mean, that's not all you, but I will say, I just feel like those talking points that you mentioned earlier, that conversation that you and I had, I think people get really stuck on the fact that PSA kind of has this MO to arm every American at a cheap price, and which is it's a cool MO to have. They're very pro 2A. They've done a lot, but man, people get behind that mantra so much where they will totally turn a blind eye to blatant issues. PSA has blatant issues.
Yeah.
Their 4.5 folding mechs are out of spec. It's a known thing.
That's not even an issue to me. I'm more concerned with the bolts.
Sure, the bolts, not dimpling the receivers, poor choice of rivets that they're using, everything that you've pointed out. And what's interesting is you'll see dudes that will make reviews on PSAs that want a doggle. Maybe they have a malfunction here and there, whatever. They're like, my PSA AK sucks. You're probably the only dude actually disassembling them. Not like disassembling an AR. I'm talking like breaking it down to the bare receiver, the bare trunnion. It's kind of cool to see that. I don't think anyone has really seen that before you started doing that. Most people, it's just like, look at the wear on my bolt. Maybe you can see it. You're actually disassembling it. No one's really seen how PSA is installing them until you started making those videos. At least I haven't.
Well, and that's the interesting thing to me. It's like, when this all started was 2022. I was visiting my friend Jay. If you're watching, I love you. He had bought a PSA Romanian build, and he bought an underfolder and he like cut the parts out for some reason. And he cut the parts out and he realized like, hey, this isn't dimpled at all. So 2022, the first time I saw a trunnion a receiver with no dimples in it. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would they do that? It's like 15 cents worth of rivets and like 10 minutes of your time to do it correctly. So I had a Gen 3 and I took mine apart and I was like, wow, it does not have swell nets and it's not dimple. Like this doesn't make sense. So like I was still on Instagram at the time and I was contacting, just like DMing people like, hey, have you ever heard this before? And I'd say a lot of the people that I DM'd about it, they already knew. Like it wasn't like a secret. So I was like, how is it that there are people that know about this and I'm the only one that's like saying, hey, like here's a video showing it's not dimpled in. Like it just kind of was weird to me. I know why, but it's just, they've got contracts, they've got, revenue coming in from that company. They don't want to upset the apple cart. I get it. But at the same time, it's like, it's not like I cracked the Da Vinci Code. I'm just the only one that was like on camera. It's like these trunnions slide right out. They are not dimpled. But in that regard, I guess my video was, first in it, but it wasn't like it was an unknown thing before I did it. Just nobody wanted to talk about it, I guess.
So why do you think when you do bring that up, and this is another thing that you and I already talked about, let's say they're presented something like this that honestly could it would raise the price of the overall package 15 $20, which I know guns have very low margins of profit, so 15 $20 per gun's a big deal. Let's just say that's what it is. What do you think is stopping them just from doing something simple like that, just to appease, even if it might be like a fringe pocket of people that may potentially buy their stuff? Because I think most people buying PSA AKs don't care. Most people don't even know what a dimpled rivet hole in a receiver even is or why you do that. But why do you think they don't do that, or they won't do that when recommended?
So my point of contention has always been that they are aware that they should be doing this. Because if you look at I haven't looked at the 74 trunnion, but I've looked at a Bear 101 trunnion. I've looked at a Bear AKM trunnion. There's 6 holes for the rivets. Every single one of them has a 45-degree countersink. So every single one of them has the countersink. So they are making or ordering, or however they do it, their trunnions with the countersinks. They're just not using them. So I understand that, I understand manufacturing, I understand that ordering different types of rivets, requires more planning, different material streams. If you want to do the dimpling, you got to have specific jigs and tooling for it. I get that there's a cost involved, and let's be honest, they're making guns for people that are going to, these guns are going to last 5,000 rounds. That's the types of guns they're making. They're making guns that are going to last 5,000 rounds. And if you do happen to get to your 5,000 rounds, they'll just use their warranty magic to get you a new one. I get it. So the likelihood that most people buying a PSA item getting to 5,000 rounds is highly unlikely. So why would they want to invest in the tooling and the extra parts and the change in their procedures? Because it's not an easy thing to change anything in a manufacturing setting, especially if you got any kind of professional standards. You got to do a lot of stuff to get your process changed. So there's a lot of investment, there's a lot of time involved, just so that you can make a gun that's going to go beyond 5,000 rounds. Is the typical PSA user going to go beyond 5,000 rounds? Maybe. But my point has always been the cost of the item. If it's a $400 AR and they take a couple, shortcuts, I get it. But this is a $700 to $750, gun. The Gen 3, the basic Gen 3, $700, $750. That's right in line with other things on the market that are built correctly, such as the Wasser 10, and a little bit more money you can get yourself, a Zastafo, which I'm not a big fan of, but you can buy it. So I really don't understand why they wouldn't just spend the $15. And even if they push that $15 forward into the final cost, people will pay it. Push it forward, call it inflation, people will still buy their products. But again, I don't know. That was a lot of rambling, and I apologize.
Do you think I know I told you this, but I remember when I used to talk to a guy that worked at Sentry. It was on a lot of their marketing videos. His name was Jason. I don't think he's there anymore. He got in a lot of trouble, but this was the guy that told me the same thing. I want to say PSA would probably say, as an argument, that the return rate on whichever AK, let's just pick one. Well, the return rate on that AK is 1%. So if there's a 1% return rate, why would we change anything?
Exactly. If that's the industry standard, 1% return rate, we don't have a problem. If that's the industry benchmark, 1% defect rate, we don't have a problem. We can just keep rolling. But one thing I've been hearing a lot of, and I don't want to speculate, I don't want to open up this to, hearsay and rumors, but you see a lot of people recently saying that my warranty has been declined. So if my return rate is 1% and I'm starting to put more bad product out, I don't want to pick on PSA. I'm saying this as a general statement. If I'm running a manufacturing house and my return rate is one of my big metrics and I'm seeing more returns, I can game the game and just say, all right, guys, we need to start pushing back a little bit on these returns, be a little bit be a little bit more conscientious of what we're RMAing here. Like that's, I've seen it in other industries. There's no reason that it's not happening here, but but that's a mentality you run into a lot in a lot of manufacturing places. Is as long as they're meeting the industry standard for their return rate, like we don't have a problem. It's fine. And to be honest, that's a legitimate point. I've made this point in a video recently. If the scope of your production is like 100,000 units a year, and you got 500 bad units, that's 0.5%. Do you really have a quality problem if 0.5% of your product is bad? I would say no. 99.9% of the guns that left this facility are good. If I was in management, I would say you don't have a problem. However, it would be nice if we fixed your bolts.
So the bolt thing, like in my experience, I've got a lot of rounds on 2 PSAs, in particular the spiker. We did a meltdown on one, and I've got to say, other than the really bad mag fitment problem that our spiker had, it's very picky with mags, which a 7.62 AK should run everything under the sun.
Right.
Very picky with mags, not a super close clone to a spiker. I'm not sure they really want it to be that close, but I nitpicked it.
They want the aesthetics.
It's got the aesthetic. It's there from like 50 feet to spiker. But I will say, that one, when it was all said and done, like looked pretty good on the inside. And the counterpoint to that is it seems like a lot of people that are getting like GF3s, the GF5s, and 7.62 are getting like a fraction of the problems that the 5.45 and the 5.56 AKs that PSA makes are having. Like the first shots on my crank, Rodrigo's crank, and another guy that was at the range at the same time that works for Primary Arms that also had a brand new crank, all from the same, like first 250, all would not run steel case. Other people's would. Like I know Brandon Knowles, Adventuring Lens on YouTube, his ran steel just fine. It was like kind of luck of the draw. Any DM I've ever gotten about a PSA AK not working has always been the 5.45 or the 5.56 variants. No one ever reaches out to me ever about a 7.62 PSA AK failing. I really haven't seen one. The one that we have, a sample set of one, I get it. But it's pretty much been a champ. It's really only been the smaller calibers that really are just notorious for having issues.
I've seen the 7.62x39 ones have problems. Like I think I sent you some pictures. One of them was a bolt with prolapse, where basically you got the bolt face and the firing pin channel, and the firing pin keeps pushing, through the channel and kind of pushing the metal out to where it falls out. So the production, and eventually you have pop primers. So that's a problem because the round's igniting and you're punching the primer, but that primer material is getting sucked back into your bolt, going into your channel, and you get a buildup of primer material that eventually either causes a failure to fire or just straight up breaks your firing pin. So I first saw that problem around 2001, I want to say, and the production date of the gun was somewhere around 2019, and it was bad. I mean, it looked like Jenna Jameson snatch. I mean, it was just huge and worn out, and
you're like, I've seen it and I should know.
I was in the Marines. Like, I'm just saying, we are connoisseurs of that kind of thing. But anyway, so it's like the problem is the round count. This guy was seeing this at like, I think less than 1,500 rounds, to where he was breaking firing pins, stuff like that. And he he showed me pictures. He sent me the gun and all that stuff. And I was like, well, that's weird. And then a totally different guy had the same problem. His production date on his gun was like 2022. So you have an AKM that's a production date of 2019 and a gun with a production date of 2022, both with the same problem. So to me, that says that there's something ongoing. And immediately when I tell that story, people say, well, did they file the warranty claim? Should they have to? You buy an item for $750, $800, and within 1,500 rounds, you got to file for the lifetime warranty because you have a common problem with a bolt. Like, should you? But yeah, it's not isolated to the small caliber stuff, in my opinion. It's also included in the 7.62x39. It's just more prevalent in the small calibers for whatever reason. And I'm not going to pretend to talk about like why that's happening. I honestly don't know. My theory is that the channel So inside the bolt, you have the firing pin channel, and it's bored to certain specifications to match the firing pin. Let's see if I have one right here. I had a firing pin laying around. Here we go. I always have firing pins hanging around. So if you can see this, how it's cone shaped, the internal geometry of that bolt should match that firing pin so that it's stopping exactly where it needs to stop to ignite the primer and not over travel. If that geometry is off, then guess what? That firing pin is now hammering against the metal and pushing it out. That's my theory, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not any kind of like expert. I'm just a enthusiast with a garage full of tools, you know.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. But it's just a common problem that we're seeing on their bolts. But you know, it's a problem that hasn't gone away. You know, the first time I heard about the PSA 74's bolts failing was the infamous Garantham video back in like 2001, and they came back a year later like, hey, we fixed it, everything's fixed.
You mean that 2021?
Yeah, 2021. My bad.
Okay.
I'm an old dude. You got to forgive me. 20 years ago is like yesterday for me, but 2021, you know, he had the infamous Grantham video where he says, hey, the bolts are jacked up, blah, 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 bad firing pins, unnecessary wear, this and that. And then they came back 2022 and said everything's fixed. Well, guess what? I think it was like 2 Saturdays ago, I saw a PSA 101 that broke a firing pin in 400 rounds, and I'm looking at the bolt face and it has prolapse on it. So is it fixed? I don't know. But, you know, let's be fair. That's not, I sent you the pictures. That's not an issue that's isolated to PSA anymore. People are sending me pictures of the Pioneer Arm 5.56 with the same prolapse problem. So I don't know what's going on with these small caliber, you know, affordable Kalashnikovs, but you know, there's something going on with the bolts that I can't explain. So again, I want to be fair to PSA. You know, their bolts are jacked up, and now we're seeing the Pioneer Arm bolts, or people are sending me the pictures because somehow I'm also the Pioneer Arm 5.56 guy.
I think like you're like the AK quality enforcement before there was AK quality enforcement. Like,
I think he came before me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've probably been receiving pictures like this for a long time.
No, because I don't have social media.
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't know how you'd receive those pictures.
Well, I've only been receiving them. I set up a Instagram solely for the purpose of communicating to a couple people that reach out to me on YouTube. And since I set that up, I've been getting like slammed with DMs. And some of the DMs I've been seeing is just pictures, random people that have no connection to themselves, sending me pictures of the Pioneer Arm 5.56 bolts and punch primers and prolapse on the bolt faces. And it's just like, that's interesting that it's 2 completely separate companies with probably I highly doubt that the Pioneer Arms are getting their bolts from the same people as PSA. I highly doubt it.
Can't be. I mean, you know, they're barrel spec, and I'm on my 3rd firing pin, and they are notorious for breaking firing pins. They just are.
Oh yeah.
So just a bummer. That was one, and honestly, outside of those broken firing pins, that was the one gun relative to what I paid that I was pretty impressed with. And I know you've got one too that you've tuned up a little bit.
It was a good value, yeah. I mean, for what you're buying, it's a good value. And that's kind of my point has been all along is like the PSA 101 that I have cost me $800. The Pioneer Arms 5.56, which I would say is on par with that, cost me like what? I think I picked one up for $400. I picked one up for $550. So hundreds of dollars less for pretty much the same package, you know. Yes, they got problematic bolts, but it's a couple $100 less. I'll take that. I'll take that any day. But that's also another thing I always get thrown in my face. Like this guy will say PSAs are junk, but he'll recommend the Pioneer Arm 5.56. It's like I never recommended the Pioneer Arm 5.56. If you look at my video, I threw one into the woods and said, "Don't depend your life on this." I don't know how much more clear I can be.
I think there's a clear defining line from something that you will buy, knowing that, hey, this is something fun. I'm going to blast at the range. If something happens to it, who cares? This is not a bump in the night gun. And that's totally okay, in my opinion. Like,
oh yeah,
if a gun's cheap, I paid $560 for my underfolder from Pioneer. And at that price, did I had a blast with it? I broke shit. Absolutely, I did. The stock fell apart during our meltdown video. Granted, that's an extraordinary situation, but it's not the gun that I'm going to put Zenitco on or deck out or put a really nice optic on and go zero. It's just not. It's a cheap, fun 5.56 underfolder, and that's I got exactly what I put into it.
I'm gonna put the cheapest ammo known to man and just rock and roll that bitch. That's all. That's the whole purpose of that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like put lasers on it. I'm not trying to, win AK Masters with it. I'm just putting the cheapest ammo I can find and just rock and roll it until the firing pin breaks. That's all I'm trying to do.
Real quick, let me knock out these super chats. We've had a few come in, and I'm sorry I've not been paying attention to comments. I've just been looking at Brad's big, beautiful face. Davrinoff, $10.
It is beautiful.
It's stunning. Alex and Vlad, Davrinoff, love you freaking guys. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I saw a couple more here. Sorry, I'm scrolling like a madman. You guys have not stopped. Map says M26 for president. That's a $2 vote for you there, Brad.
A what? Tufu's correcting me. He's like, you came way before AK quality.
Yeah, you did. But if you would have had a way to like accept photos and like people's grievances with companies, I think you would have been getting them way sooner.
Oh man, that's a hassle I don't want, honestly. I'm just a regular dude that has too many guns in the mountains. I don't want like the hopes and dreams of an industry on my shoulders.
So let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Earlier we mentioned that you were Marine and you were actually there during the early days, during the invasion, if I'm not mistaken. And you spent time in Fallujah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to dwell on, how you got hurt over there, but I just want to start by saying, I think I've said it before, that got a lot of respect for you for what you went through over there and what you put your body through for the country and everything else. You're very vocal about that, about your history and your background on your channel. What I was curious about, and you may have mentioned this in some videos, but seeing AKs in the wild over there, like, do you have any cool stories about just maybe finding some interesting things over there during your time?
Yeah.
Got you interested in it, maybe more than you already were?
Well, what was interesting over there is you got to keep in mind, this is an area that's been fighting for centuries. I mean, so we would come across like really like whacked out shit, like a Webley revolver. We took down a dude that had a Webley revolver. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is.
Yeah. The British revolver.
Right.
Yeah.
This dude had a Webley, and it wasn't just like a showpiece. I mean, this is a guy that was going to go fight wars with a Webley.
Wow.
There was a guy with a Scorpion that came running at us. He was all coked out or something like that, and we're on patrol, and he just like
a little 32,
a
little 32 Scorpion. Cool.
Yeah. So not really. I mean, he came at us like he dumped like a 20-round mag in like 3 seconds.
I'm sure it wasn't cool for you. It's just a cool gun.
Well, it's just funny because again, he was all coked out of his mind, so he comes running at us with this Scorpion full blast, and he ran out of ammo in like 2 seconds and didn't hit anybody. And there's like this moment where you're staring at him and he's staring back at you and he's like, oh, and then you just pop him. It's like, idiot, But I think the one that hurt the most was, again, I didn't know anything about guns at the time. There's like this misconception that if you're in the military, you know everything about guns. I didn't know anything about guns. All I knew is what I was trained and what I've been picking up. So we found something on a guy that I thought was a G3. I thought it was the HK91, the G3. So whenever we'd get weapons, we'd try to destroy them on the fly so they can't be used because we're always on the move. So we had a tank, and we lined up all the guns we found just to run over it with a tank. So we put this gun on the pile to be run over by a tank. It turned out it was an STG-44. Like,
oh shit.
We ran over an STG-44 with a tank. And the only reason I found out it was STG-44 was because in the Marine Corps, they have a position called the gunner. and the gunner's in charge of like training and weapons and stuff like that. You know, it's his job to be up to date on all the training. So I remember him coming, he heard about it, and he came running full blast, screaming, "Stop the tank! Stop the tank!" And we didn't know what was going on. He's like, "Oh my God, you fucking idiots! You ran over the STG-44." I was like, "What's that?" Like, what's an STG-44? And he pointed, "That's an STG-44." Like, what is that though? I don't know what that is. And he had to explain it to me. I was like, "Okay, my bad." Like, it wasn't until years later I understood the like significance of it. But I think the most wild one was from Fallujah. There was this guy who, to his credit, he pinned down my whole squad with a bolt action Enfield. So this one guy just decided today's his day. He's gonna, meet his maker, and he decided to take on a squad of Marines with a bolt action 303 Enfield. But when we finally took him down, it had a 2-foot piece of pipe welded on the muzzle, to make it a sniper rifle.
Oh.
So in his mind, welding on, it was a straight pipe. Welding on that straight pipe, that made it a sniper rifle.
Man.
But I'll give him credit. He held down 9 of us for about 15 minutes before we finally took him. So he gave it his all.
So I don't want to use the word like infatuation, but I know you really like AKs just like I really like AKs. Was it your time in Iraq that got you interested? Was it time afterwards? I mean, you were, if anyone doesn't know, you were shot with an AK in Fallujah, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
took a bullet.
Was it afterwards where this might sound morbid, but was that what got you interested? What got you interested in AKs from the very beginning?
I mean, like most American children from the 80s, you always have the action movies like Red Dawn, of course. Loved Red Dawn. Movie called Park Is Mine. Dude takes over Central Park with an AK and some Vietnam tactics. So I've always been interested in AKs, but I mean, what really sold me on the AK over everything else, the AKM in particular, is the 7.62x39. I'm from Baghdad. Let me hop on and share. Hey,
maybe later, but thanks for the $2. Maybe later.
Oh, sorry for what I did to your country. I honestly apologize. I had no choice. But anyway, it's like the 7.62x39. I carried 5.56 in 3 deployments, and I shot dudes with it, and I kept seeing dudes get hit with 5.56, and they just don't stop. They just keep coming at you. So like when I got out of the Marines, it's like, man, if I'm gonna have a rifle, it's gonna have some ass to it. So I used to run 7.62 NATO. Like my first rifle when I got out of the Marine Corps was a Springfield Armory SOCOM 16. The 16-inch variant.
Yes.
And when I was 24-year-old buck, carrying 7 magazines of that was no problem. But as I got older and fatter and more out of shape, I couldn't do that no more. But I still wanted to carry 7.62. So 7.62x39 was like the next step. So that's with me being older and less in shape. That was just more plausible for me to carry. So it's less. My love for the Kalashnikov is less about the platform itself. Don't get me wrong, I love the platform, but it's more of the round, the 7.62x39. I'll take that in a fight any day of the week over 5.56.
Is it soul crushing seeing what the price that it's selling for now?
A little bit. I mean, I never want to be that old timer that reminisce. Like back in my day, candy bars were a nickel and blowjobs were 50 cents. I never want to be that dude. Times change. That's what they do. But at the same time, it really sucks trying to feed the AKM at 50 cents a round. That gets a little bit hard to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason why some dudes got into AKs, like some of the OGs back in the day, because it was the cheapest gun to shoot. SKSs and AKs and 7.62, even 5.45 were so damn cheap to shoot. And now the tables have definitely turned. The guns are more expensive. The ammo is as expensive, if not more expensive than ARs. It's not a good sign.
I used my my first 5.45 gun was an AR. A company called Adams Arms.
Yeah.
They made a whole line of AR products specifically designed for shooting the corrosive 5.45. You know, had like a special non-corrosive coating on and stuff. So I built one of those just so that I can train AR and not spend like 40 cents a round. I can spend like 15 cents a round on corrosive bullshit 7 and 6. So I get it. Like I more than understand.
Map, the same guy that wants you to run for president, tips $2.
Oh God, no.
SLR 106 versus 104. Which one would you guys pick? Well, I know which one you're not picking, Brad.
Not the 106. Like
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense on any level.
Well, that's the one I would pick.
Yeah.
Well, you have fun spending 70 cents a round.
Yeah, on the 104.
I'll spend 40 cents a round and not put that ammo through my AR-15
Well, see,
that it was designed for.
That's the difference. I need less ammo to be effective. I mean, you can pump 5-6 rounds into that dude, and I'll just pump one of the poison bullets in him and get that massive cavity. That guy ain't getting back up.
Very true. Mr. Focus Trip joins us with $5. Thanks, brah. I've been watching all your lives. Just showed up. Let's go. I know you guys have been chatting.
Yeah, a little bit.
You guys are like Eskimo brothers with PSA lately.
Yeah, he's got his issues with PSA. I really don't think I have an issue with PSA. Oh, my wife's coming down. Sorry about that. But I don't think I have an issue with PSA personally. I think they got an issue with me. That's my opinion.
I don't think either of you have a personal vendetta against PSA. I mean, some dudes definitely do. Some dudes just kind of get off on that bandwagon hate train. It doesn't have to be PSA. It can be Century Arms. It can be anything. There are bandwagon haters that just freaking relish in it.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like some people get that impression from you. I've known you a little while, and I don't. I just know how technical you are, and I know what you've seen by taking these things apart and all the messages and the DMs that you get. You see some of the worst stuff. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I don't think it's personal at all.
Yeah, my biggest complaint is, especially the swell neck and rivet thing. It would just cost so less. Like how much is the tooling really going to cost? Let's say you got 30 stations, and each jig you need, because that's all it is. It's just a little cone-shaped jig about the size of a dime. You got 30 stations. Each jig costs you $5. You have the ability to dimple now. The rivets will cost you like 15 cents each a gun. The labor is like 10 minutes. I mean, if you break it down, it's really not killing you to build it right. And that's probably my biggest gripe is just, it doesn't cost a lot of money. Why don't we just build them right? But the rumor is they're going to start building it right. So, you're not going to see any videos from me, any complaints about the riveting. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say, I'm glad that they're doing it correctly, but, a year or two from now, if I pull a gun apart that's got a production date of 2025 and it's got no rivets, I'm going to do a video. That's not a threat. That's just probably the way it's going to be.
We wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah.
I think this one's for you, Brad. Amar tips $5 and says, "You freed us. Thank you. I was an interpreter. IED left me disabled. Now a U.S. citizen. The Iraqi people just not ready for democracy. God bless America."
I can go off in the weeds in that if you want, but we went in there and we didn't have any plan to get out. Now it was, it turned real quick from us being liberators to us just making money for that guy there. I'll tell a story about that guy when I'm done. But
oh, you know this guy?
Yeah.
All right.
But it really quickly turned into us just making money for Halliburton. And that doesn't sit well with me. The amount of crap we went through. The human lives lost. And I think I still have my video up where I show a graph where you see, I overlapped the price of Halliburton stock with like the amount of lives lost. They went from, I think, like $7 a share in 2001 to the height of the war being up to like almost like 40. So a lot of lives lost just to drive Halliburton stock price up, and that doesn't sit well with me. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off in the weeds with that. I don't want to turn this into
Oh,
Brad's craziness.
talk about anything you want, man. So,
Yeah.
what's the deal with Blue Ridge Shooting?
Okay, so this is a really cool guy. Now, I did a bacon rant about rifle dynamics, and I was out of line. Like we've talked about this before. I'm very critical of the new rifle dynamics, but I kind of went out of line, and I need to actually delete that video because I said some things I regret. But he called me out on it. He said, "Hey, I watch your show, I like you, but you're completely out of line." He called me on my bull crap on that, and I get called out on bull crap all the time. And usually, like when you get a message like that, a comment like that, you follow them. You go to look at their page and they've got no comments, nothing like that. But this guy actually had, I'm sorry, no videos. But you go to this guy's page, he's been on YouTube like 8 years. He's got probably a couple dozen videos of decent guns. He's got, arsenals, and he's got, VZ58s. He's got all these amazing guns, and he's doing decent quality videos and only 500 subscribers. And that just doesn't make sense to me. So,
Well, everyone go subscribe right now to Blue
yeah,
Ridge
seriously,
Shooting for sure. I'm gonna go subscribe right now.
great. He's got great videos. He's got great content, guns on there. He doesn't have your generic like Glock videos and Colt videos. He's got an AUG LMG, if not mistaken. So he's got some good guns on there. He's a really nice guy, and he called me on my bullshit, and that plays into a point that we always talk about is, just because we don't necessarily agree on stuff doesn't mean we have to hate each other. So,
Oh shit! I'm not making this up. I'm already subscribed. I didn't realize it.
yeah, he was at AK Masters last year.
Okay, yeah, I'm already subscribed.
Yeah,
so,
good dude.
Well, word up. Make sure we're not missing anyone else here. Ooh, man.
How many people are on the live stream? I'm curious.
230-ish.
Nice.
All for you, my man. You're like a polarizing figure here.
I hope not.
My next question is, when did you get into building AKs? Do you remember the first time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I tell this story all the time. So the short story is, me being an AK guy, I think it was like 2014. I wanted a 74. I never had a 74, never had a 545 Kalashnikov before. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Well, Arsenal stopped importing the 104s. So that wasn't an option. You could find them used for like $1,500. I'm not paying that much money for one of those. So all I could really find was like really crappy garage builds, like really, really bad garage builds. So a friend of mine in the area, and he's also a Kalashnikov guy, he said, why don't we just buy some kits and build them? I was like, that sounds like a great idea. So we bought some Circle 10 kits for like $350, something like that. And I didn't know anything about building. I didn't know a goddamn thing. And we were trying to find somebody to build it. Like we were talking to Meridian. Meridian wanted like, I think damn near $1,000 to build it. And I was like, ooh, it's worth it, but that's spicy. I think Lee Armory, they wanted like $750, and it's like, I don't know if I want to pay that. So we found a guy locally who had a pretty good reputation as a gunsmith. And he said, I could build an AK for you. I was like, all right, that sounds good. And he actually let us like in his shop, for the process and all that stuff. So in preparation, I did what any, American would do. I watched a ton of YouTube. So, I found like all these videos on building. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. Probably the one that sticks out the most was this chick, BFG Movies or something like that.
Oh no, that's not a chick.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know that now.
Yep.
I'm trying to be respectful to their pronouns if I want people to call me Sherman Tank.
But I will say that was like low key, probably one of the best YouTube channels on like straight up like garage building AKs. I remember watching that dude sit in his bed cross-legged with dirty feet with a drill, finishing out a polymer 80% AR lower. And the next video, he's building like Dragunov kits. I'm like, what the? Such a stark contrast. But he had a little bit of everything. I see him on Facebook all the time.
But I'll use that pronoun. They had a whole video where they were wearing like a maid's outfit, and building a 74. And I actually learned a lot just from that goofy ass video. So I went into this guy's shop armed with this like YouTube knowledge I have, and I walk in, I look around, I don't see a press. I was like, how are we going to press the parts? You don't have a press. And he shows me a 5-pound hammer. I was like, I was like, okay, 5-pound hammer. How are we going to headspace? You got the gauges? He's like, no, I got a live round. We're fine. Like, you're going to pound my barrel into my trunnion with a 5-pound hammer. We're going to headspace with a bullet. Wonderful. And then I was like, all right, so how are we going to rivet this thing? You got the jigs and stuff? I was thinking maybe he had like the rivet squeezers. He's like, no, I got an air hammer. So we riveted it with an air hammer, populated all the parts with a 5-pound hammer, and headspace with a live round, and then he egged out the barrel pin like something fierce. And then the whole time I'm like trying to like say, I don't think that's the way to do it. And he kept saying, dude, it's an AK. It's fine. It's an AK. It's fine.
God, what year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there with my family's walking around in the background, but so I'm sitting there with like this. At this point, it's like $900 because all the parts, the kit, like the $200 I paid this guy to build. I'm looking at this thing. I was like, oh my God, this thing's a piece of shit. I have a $900 piece of shit. So again, I was calling shops like Meridian wanted like $800 to fix it, and Lee wanted like $600 to fix it. And I was like, if I want this thing fixed, I may as well just buy tools and do it myself. And that's how I got started. Just this desire to fix this monstrosity of a 74 that this guy made for me. And that's how I got started. Just bought the basic tools. I bought the rivet squeezers, bought a press, went to, what is that, Forbes? I think Forbes Engineering, bought some press tools from him. And that's how I got started. It just, again, it was a nice time to get started because the kits were like what, like Romanian
kits were
kit.
plentiful.
Yeah, they were plentiful. You get a Romanian kit for like $200, $250, something like that. So
and not only that, it was before. Now, I mean, basically, you're seeing now like bottom of the barrel kits that have been passed over for the past 20 years.
Yeah,
that was still like some primo stuff.
Yeah, barely touched kits. You could get a Romy G kit for like $300. Like I remember getting a Romy G kit for like $350 with the barrel. Like beautiful, beautiful kits. But the thing is, and the thing that people don't understand, I think I sent you the picture, is they tell me they want to get into building, the cost of tools. Like you're talking $900 in tools minimum. And then the cost of kits, because it's not like ARs where they just snap together. It takes some trade skills to get all these parts working together. So like I tell everybody, your first 3 builds, unless you got somebody there telling you exactly how to do it, are going to be total crap. Your first gun is going to be total dog shit, like almost unsafe to shoot. It's not until you get to like build number 3 that you start getting the experience you need to actually make an acceptable gun. It's not even going to be a good gun. It's just going to be acceptable.
So would you recommend people go take a build class? Because I mean, they're being offered by a lot of really good gunsmiths these days before maybe just figuring out like if they have any mechanical aptitude before they buy all the tools and everything.
I was looking at a build class back in like 2015, and Rifle Dynamics was offering them, and I can't remember what they wanted. I think they wanted like $1,200 for a build class, and
sure, it's expensive.
You left the class with a gun, so it's not like you just got training. You went, you got a gun, but all they teach you is riveting. Like that was my thing. It's like it's going to be a 2-day class, and all we're going to learn is riveting. We're not going to learn like pressing the barrel in. We're not going to learn like drilling the barrel pin. So we're not going to learn populating the barrel components. What gas port size you should be using. How to line up the gas block to the gas port. Those are all vital skills you need for building a Kalashnikov. And I'm not being disrespectful. You can't teach that in a 2-day class. You know what I mean? There's no way a 2-day class is going to teach you all the skills that you need to build a Kalashnikov. But you're going to pay. I was looking at it just from a practical standpoint. I'm going to pay like $1,100-$1,200 just to learn how to rivet.
And now I think the classes are like $2,500.
Yeah, they are not cheap.
They've at least doubled in price, and I get it. Kits are expensive, and everything's more expensive. So there's that.
So do I think a kit, like a class, is like a bad idea? I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. Just understand what you're getting. You're not going to walk out of that class with all the skills and knowledge you need to build a full gun. You're going to walk out of that class knowing how to rivet.
So I guess maybe a better piece of advice would be maybe just vet the class a little bit and ask if some of that stuff's even going to get covered. You know, are we going to be pressing and populating barrels? Are we going to cross drill and pin? Are we going to headspace?
Right.
I'm sure the class would tell you what they're going to cover.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's no way a class is going to teach you all that in like a weekend. It's just not possible. There's no way that you're going to learn in a 2-day class how to build a full Kalashnikov. It's just not. Yeah. So the scope of your time, the scope of the class is restricted to riveting, because really that's all they're going to have time to teach you. And again, that's not a knock on anything. It's just, you're not going to be able to just walk off the street and learn how to build Kalashnikovs in like 2 days. And that's what makes it special. That's why like being a Kalashnikov builder is kind of like a badge of honor in our community, because not everybody can do it,
Yeah, it's such a good way to put that. Like, people that are known to build good AKs really do earn a lot of respect. The king of the castle, you got guys like Jim Fuller, down to like some newcomers like my buddy Mario, Daniel over at Halcyon. A lot of people don't know his name, but he is one of the best. People like Mark Krebs. These are people I have tons of respect for, because I know how hard that is. It is not easy. It's nothing. It's not even the same ballpark as putting AR-15s together. And unfortunately, for people that don't know, it gets compared to that all the time, and it's not the same at all.
You know how many times I've heard, well, I built like 100 ARs, I can build an AK. It's like, no.
I don't even like using the word build. And
symbol,
like I've caught shit for like cringing when I hear people say, I built an AR. Like, I cringe at that a little bit, just using the word. And I know it's nomenclature, I get it, but
you don't
from the
you
AK
don't
side,
build an AR, you assemble it. Like, shut up.
You kind of are, but I won't go out of my way to like correct someone's verbiage. Like when my dad says clip, fuck yeah, I'm gonna correct his verbiage, but nah, not the build thing. Really quick, Monster 82, $2, and he wants to know, do you have any experience with the AKV?
No,
quickly?
Because
I really don't either.
Because the KUSA version exists. That's better.
The K9's that good. It really is.
But MP5 is better than anything AK in 9mm. I used to have this meme that I love to show. It's 3 amigos, and you've got the German dude in the middle, and you got those two like banditos on the side, like El Guapo and his like henchmen, and it's like those guys are the AK 9mm. The German is the MP5 guy. Like, I will take an MP5 over anything Kalashnikov 9mm any day of the week. I think I sent you a picture of I had this brilliant idea. Let's put PPS 43 mags into a Romanian 9mm AK, like a rat. Yeah, that's there. The one right there. Yeah. So that was actually fun to build,
and it looks dope.
It was a pain in the ass. Basically, I cut the magwell out of a PPS 43 and welded it into this Romanian Rack 9. So there were so many, and I had to do this all with hand tools. I don't have like a milling machine. So the trunnion, I wish I didn't delete the video when I got pissed off at YouTube, but the trunnion is designed for a single, not a single stack, but single feed mag, like a Glock mag.
Sure.
So to set it up for the double stack there, I had to actually like use a Dremel and mill out the trunnion, and it just looked rough as hell. But just to get it to fit properly, and then to get the right height and the right feed angle, oh my God, that was such a pain in the butt. And then, but it's like typical me, like I probably spent like a month trying to figure all this out, and then about 2 weeks of shooting it, I was like, all right, I'm bored. Let's sell this and get the next project going.
You sold that?
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
I was bored with it. I was bored. It was super cool, but at the same time, it's like, I kept shooting it. And I'm like, I'm bored with this. I sent you like a ton of guns. I don't own any of them anymore. There's only a couple guns on there I still own, because like I get bored with them, and I'm going to sell it to fund the next.
Yeah, sure. I was just going to say, and I'm sure you can use the cash for something else more interesting.
Well, that's my whole gimmick is the boy's doing much better. Oh, okay, yeah. So this guy here, his son was having a real rough time with PTSD. Not to air his business or anything, but and I kind of gave them some pointers on how to reach them, and I guess it's doing well. So I'm really glad to hear that. If nothing else, all this like crap I go through on YouTube, if it helped at least a couple people, I'm happy. I'm happy that it helped somebody, because YouTube has not helped me one bit.
Yeah, and I didn't want to get into that too much, but it should be known that you do have really good videos about how you got over PTSD, and I'm sure it's something that
Oh, you don't
deal
get
with.
over it. You just cope with
Sure,
it. Just
you
find
just.
ways to cope.
I'm sure it's something you deal with on the daily.
Oh yeah.
But you do have some videos where you, in vivid detail, talk about when you were fresh out, having some really rough days, and how you got through them, and how you live today. And I've found those videos pretty powerful, honestly. So I'm happy to see that they are helping some people. That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like when I set up the Instagram just for communication, I got probably 50, 60 DMs, and they're all positive. And then a couple of them in there like, "Hey, you really helped me when I saw this video you did. It really opened my eyes." Like, well, I'm glad. I'm happy for that. But the trade-off is I get to put up with all the bull crap and the slings and arrows that come with being on YouTube with your face in it.
I mean,
It is what it is.
It is. I mean, if you put yourself out there, there is going to be someone that just doesn't like the way your face looks. Doesn't really matter what you're saying.
This
And
beautiful face. Are you
it's
kidding me?
par for the course of just putting yourself on the internet. You're just going to hear some crazy shit
Oh yeah.
that makes no sense, and you can't fathom why this person hates your guts so much because you said something they didn't like about a gun, about
Yeah,
handgun.
that's crazy. Somebody threatened to kill, threaten my family because I don't like ransom.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. I promise. Map again with $2 says he wants to now select your VP, Kalashkamaz, your running mate.
Who's Kalashkamaz? I don't know who that is.
You would like him. He's got a YouTube channel. You'd like him.
I live under a rock, my man. I don't have TV. I know like 6 people anymore.
Radioactive Iguana Dude wants to know, what does Brad think of the 2A 3D printed scene? Do you even have an opinion?
I actually got into this with like Iceman Actual, like back into like 2017. Like the big 3D printed gun thing was going on. I don't know if you remember, like there was a guy that was like making a big stink. He made like a Liberator pistol with it's like a 380 or something like that. And my stance on that is, why do I care when I can get 80% polymer lower for like $100? You know what I mean? For like $100 at the time, times have changed, laws have changed. So at the time, my stance was, for $100, I can get the polymer 80 lower and just like what, $200-300 for a Glock kit and make a gun. So if I was really concerned about it, why would I spend at the time $1,000 on a 3D printer? But now that the technology is, Iceman Actual's point was, the technology is expensive now and excludes people because of their price now. But in a few years when it's more affordable, we don't want the laws in place that restrict it. And he was right. He was right. Like we just picked up a 3D printer for like $200 or something like that. And if I wanted to, I can go on the internet and get the print files to make whatever the hell I want. So, I'm a man that will always admit when I'm wrong, and that was one area I was wrong. It'd be nice if we had the ability just to print guns in our homes, but God forbid that we do that. Like we can't be trusted.
Live stream just got demonetized.
I'm sorry.
No, it was probably already demonetized, honestly. Yeah. Plastikov, that's what you should look into. PSR, and there's some other channels that have quite a few videos. I saw my first Plastikov in person at AK Masters.
Brandon had one like 3 years ago, and it self-destructed after like 2 rounds.
Dude, there was this young kid that shot the entire match with one. It was like 350, 400 round count, the entire match. And he wasn't the only one. In his squad, there were like 2 or 3 dudes. They were like the 3D print guys. There might even be some here in the chat, but I went up. I had to go see this damn thing. And I'm like, dude, like, it's ugly as shit, but it worked. And he got through an entire match with it. And
how much is a 80% lower these days? Like a Kalashnikov 80% lower, like,
man, you're asking the wrong guy. I don't know.
It's like $80.
Yeah.
There's like a little X and a Y on the side there. That's where you drill the holes. One side is 5 millimeters, the other side is 7 millimeters. Ba-boom. You could talk all you want about plastic, plastic 3D printed Kalashnikovs. You can have the real deal pretty cheaply.
It's
Now
Jurassic Park, man.
that's gonna get you demonetized, me explaining that. But
Oh, sure.
yeah,
100%.
I'm just saying, like, for
Allegedly.
the amount of money and effort you're going to put into making a plastic gun, you could just put the time and money to make a steel one. That's just my stance. I'm an old guy, though.
But, they are walking so that later people can run.
That's
like
true.
who knows what a Plastikov is going to look like in 15 years? We're probably going to be like, can you believe that people used to fucking bend metal into a box and make a gun out of this?
Back in my day,
Yeah.
we had presses.
Yeah, you'll be that guy.
We had trunnions. They needed rivets.
I'll read this one super chat and then I'll go back to my questioning. It just came in. Rich M tips $5. He says he wants to know what your beef is with the freaking M70, dude. And it better be a good beef because I happen to really like M70s. So let's hear it.
Let's go. Aftermarket compatibility, number one. Okay. A lot of the I'm sure times have changed.
They have, Brad.
They have changed.
They have changed.
But in my opinion, some of the best aftermarket parts that you can put on your gun, you can't put onto the M70s. Yes, you can get an Ultimac. Yes, you can get a Midwest Industries, whatever bullshit they're putting out this year. I'm not a fan of Midwest Industries. Whatever bullshit they're putting out, yes, you can put it on the M70. Yes, you can get a Texas Dogleg, but just the incompatibility, you're just limiting yourself to a lot of parts like gas blocks. If you want a front sight gas block combo, nobody makes one for the M70 that I'm aware of.
I mean, I've got one on the M90. The barrel had to be turned down.
Yes, you had to have it turned down.
Right.
But you had to have a gunsmith do that. How much did that cost you? Like $200, $300?
Something like that. But I mean, to be fair, I would have to pay anyone to put a gas block on any AK. You know what I mean?
I've never paid anybody to put a gas block on.
I know, but most people aren't you,
I'm just saying, so you're excluding a lot of your gunsmithable aftermarket parts, and if you do send it to a gunsmith, you're going to be paying more because you have to have it turned down. The weight, ounces equals pounds, pounds equals pain. So you got a heavier gun to do the exact same job as an AKM. And if we're talking the new Zastafas, I'm sorry, I just don't believe that the metal urgency is there. If you just Google like broken Zastafa, you'll get a bunch of pictures of Zastafa bolts and carriers being screwed up by somebody just replacing the trigger. Like somebody puts in an ALG, a mousetrap trigger spring, you're going to start wearing out the bolt and the carrier. I could be completely wrong.
Oh yeah, and Zastava will get on your ass about that too.
Yes, I don't need.
They will.
I don't need Zastava on my ass, or I have PSA on my ass. Why would I want to fight a war on two fronts?
You don't want Ronco mad at you. Ronco's done war crimes.
Oh,
it's the last dude you want to get mad at.
I used to watch a lot of Pride Fight, and there was a guy named Branko Setovic who was from Serbia, and he was like the dirtiest fighter you ever seen. And that taught me don't mess with anybody named Branko. So if there's a guy named Branko coming after me, I don't want no part of it. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't touched a M70 in probably 5 years, so it might be a whole new ball game right now. But
so we agree, the M70 is a great gun. Moving on to the next question, Brad. What would you say is the biggest misconception with building AKs in general? I know we kind of talked about it earlier, getting compared to ARs, but do you have another fallacy or misconception about building AKs?
Back to that dude that built my Circle 10 kit back in 2015. Dude, it's an AK. It doesn't matter. I've heard this so many times, like idiots in caves build these things. How hard can it be?
Yeah, good point.
Kind of hard. The Khyber Pass dudes are slamming them together in the basements of their mud huts. but how good are those guns? Probably not good. But I will say this, that also gave me a lot of confidence to build. Like when I first started building, I'd go on Instagram for advice, and Brad's Facebook.
Sorry, I'm pulling up comments every now and again. I don't mean to derail you.
Don't. This is property right here. This is like gold real estate, and don't disrespect the gold real estate. I mean, this is where you want to build your McDonald's. This is like prime time. But Angel of Verdun knows this story, and if she's watching, she's going to start laughing at this. So when I first started building, I would go on Instagram to get advice, and these were the early days, before Facebook and all that. So you could DM somebody like Carlos at CW Gunworks, or Chase at Definitive, or Paul at Meridian. You could DM these dudes with John at M13 and say, hey, give me some advice, and they would actually answer you back. It ain't that way no more. But back in the day, everybody was very open and forthcoming. So there's this dude named Military Gun Guy. I don't know if he's still around.
Man, I know that name.
You will when I tell you the story. So Military Gun Guy was like an amateur builder, and he gave me the best piece of advice is like, guys in caves build these things. If they can build them, you can build them. And he also said there's nothing about this gun you can't fix. It's just a matter of how much time and effort is it going to take. Time, effort, and money is going to take to fix it. And, just getting started building back in like 2016, 2017, that was like some of the best advice I got to boost my confidence. Fun fact, he turned out to be a porn director. That was his day job.
Is he still on YouTube?
I don't know.
Was he ever on YouTube?
I knew him from Instagram. He was a Military Gun Guy. I probably talked to him for over a year. I had no idea what his day job was. And then he just like came out with a post saying,
oh, nope, this is him for sure.
Yeah, he's like, hey, everybody, I'm just going to meld my two loves together, which is porn directing and AKs. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, like, he hasn't made a video in 2 years, but this is definitely the guy.
Yeah, I texted Angel Verdun like immediately. I couldn't text her. I was like, are you seeing this shit? He's a porn director.
Hold on.
Like, I know.
Yeah, this is probably him, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably. I mean, it's definitely melding his two interests together.
Yeah.
Military firearms and naked ladies.
Yep, for sure. Man, great view counts on those videos.
Yeah. No comment.
All right, let's see. Got another super chat here. Red Zeppelin Airship. Your thoughts on Chinese AKs, if you have any?
So this is one of the few things I disagree with, Jim Fuller about. I love the guy. To me, he's Elvis. But this is one of the points that I disagree is a lot of people say, quote him as saying the Norinkos were the best Kalashnikovs to ever come into the country. And maybe like 30 years ago, that was a true statement, but when you compare like the Norinkos to something like the Segias, the Segias are straight up Russian AK 100 series. They're just demilitarized. So, the Norinkos back in the day were probably excellent, but today they stopped importing Norinkos in like the early 90s, like 92, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 94.
94. So if you got a Norinco today, how old is that gun? It's like 30 years old. I can't do math. I'm a Marine. So it's like 30 to 40 years old. So you got a 30 to 40-year-old gun. God knows how many rounds are on it. God knows what's been done to it. Unless it's like new in the box. And then how much are you going to pay for new in the box Norinco? Like $3,000 collector prices? I just don't see the point of them. That's just my personal perspective. I see people all the time. Hey, do you think I should get a Mac 90? It's like, no. Leave it alone. It's a 40-year-old gun. God knows what's been done to it. You don't know how many rounds it's been in. And all the parts are not standard to the AKM. So if you need a new barrel, I think the journal is 19 millimeters. So you're going to have to find a 19 millimeter barrel journal. That's not a common thing that's floating around out there. I think Lonnie over at AK Builders has one sometimes. But you're just hoping if you buy one of those and you need a new barrel that Lonnie has it in stock, which is not always a guarantee.
Yeah, I've always been indifferent. Like, I think they're cool to collect. I think there's some cool, like, to have like a double underfold or like a spiker underfolder would be cool. It's
Yeah.
not something I would go hose a lot of rounds. It's like a gun I would pull out if friends were over, or maybe make a video on it from time to time. But like, other than that, I really don't know of a good use for the pre-ban Tricom AKs other than collecting. No one ever shoots them, and they charge an arm and a leg for them. The Mac 90s are really, unless you fully intend on like doing a front end conversion on it or pimping it out in some way. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like a Mac 90, if you can get one cheap for the like intending on like debanning it and doing something cool with it. Otherwise, you're going to spend $3,000 plus on a collector item that's not worth shooting. You're just going to devalue it constantly.
Yeah, I had a Norinco Mac 90 that just happened to be at a local like Fudd gun store for like $400. Like somebody called me like, "Hey, there's like a Chinese AK." I like before they even got like the word out of their mouth, I'm like getting my keys to run out the door to go buy it. Like it was actually in good shape. It was like, oh, this was 2014. This happened, so those days are done because everybody knows the value of those things now. Everybody's got the internet. You don't find those like Fudd gun store deals no more. I actually bought a Maudie at a yard sale.
Sick.
I was at a yard sale, and I saw a sign that said "guns inside," and I was like, "What guns you got?" He's like, "Well, I got this Egyptian AK." I was like, "Show it to me immediately." Like,
tell me more.
How much do you want? Like, well, I really want a 4-wheeler, so I'll take this amount of money. Or if you got a 4-wheeler, like
fresh out of 4-wheelers.
Fresh out of 4-wheelers, I left them in my other pants, but. The area I live in is very rural.
Yeah.
And, this is going to get right wing a little bit. And it's just history. It's not like political. But back in the 80s, there was a big movement to protect farms. I guess there was a lot of foreclosures in the Reagan days on farms. So a lot of the farmers around here were afraid of foreclosure. So they started buying up like semi-automatic guns like crazy to protect the farms for foreclosures. Like, I don't remember all the details, what they called themselves. It's like, people call it right wing, but to me, it's just people protecting their farm. So those are like back in the 80s. So there's a lot of like pre-ban Maudis, a lot of like Valmets around here, Galils, things like that, like just like crazy stuff. So I'll be out at the range. Like there's a range right up the street from me that's kind of fuddish. And I think it was like 2 years ago. I was up at the range just shooting one of my AKs, and this old farmer comes up. He's like, "Oh, I got an AK. I really like it. You want to see it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So I was expecting the guy to pull out like a Wasser 10 or something. This guy pulls out like a Valmet 5.56, like all beat the shit. He's like, "Yeah, this has been my truck gun since the 80s.
Oh, man.
I was like, "Holy shit." This guy just straight up pulled out a Valmet. How much do you want for it? I'll give you 500 today.
I've got, before we get on to a more spicier topic, I've got a few pictures of your builds here. I've cultivated some of my favorites. So I was hoping to maybe show some of the viewers some build pictures that you sent me, and you've got videos on just about everything I see here, but I want to kind of pull one up on the screen and maybe you tell me, was this something that you saved, something you bought and modified, or just some random idea that you had? You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. What is this?
That is an AR RPK. So this design is actually from Klein Machine in Missouri. Like they are the first ones to kind of pioneer this design. So they took a 24-inch bull barrel. That barrel is like 1 inch thick from like muzzle back to the barrel nut. It is a beefy boy, and he set it up specifically to be a light support weapon for the prepared citizen. So like, what's his name? Brent 0331. He does a lot with like the One Shepherd Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that makes these is like heavy into that. So I just like randomly saw a Brent 0331 video, and he had one of these. I was like, what is that, and how can I make one? So I went on the Klein Machine website, and I think they wanted like $1,800 just for the upper alone with like no bolt carrier group. And I was like, it's worth it, but I can make that, and I can probably make it better than what they're offering, because the one they offered was The barrel was a little bit better. It was a chrome line barrel, but the handguard was like a DPMS. And I was like, I'm not going to pay $1,800 for something with a DPMS handguard. So I just decided to make my own. So I had RPK, not RPK. That's an M72 bipod. I had that laying around my shop. I found a nitride barrel for like 120. That was the same dimensions as theirs. And I found a key mod Daniel Defense handguard, and I put it together. I just had to have the barrel machine down for the bipods. But that thing's a beast. I think like fully loaded, it's like 12, 13 pounds. But when you shoot that thing, there's like zero recoil.
I bet. Can I show this other picture that you sent me of something else you're working on for it?
What's that? Yeah, show whatever you want.
So you're adapting a carry handle to it.
So the Klein machine, they offer a carry handle that's Picatinny for it. And I really didn't think it was necessary until I rock and rolled like 300 rounds out of that thing in like 4 minutes. And then I tried to pick it up, and man, I burned the hell out of my hand. So if you're the whole purpose of this thing, it's not a rifle, it's a light support weapon. So if you're going to use it in the light support weapon role, you're going to be rock and rolling ammunition out of it. And if you need to pick up and move and you're trying to just grab the handguard, like even that little rubber thing I have on there, the Manta Defense, like my hand could touch that. But as soon as my pinky slipped off that, it was just like burn city. So I was looking at their carry handle, but they want like $120 for it. And I was like, I'm not going to pay $120 for a carry handle. So I just had this brilliant idea, like, well, what if I just use like the M2 carry handle that they used to have on the, the Ma Deuce Browning. And I found one for like $35 from like a auction site. So I just bought it. Now I'm going to like fix that thing on there just so I have a carry handle. If I got to put out a lot of rounds, I want to pick up and move, I'm not going to burn my hand.
Dope.
Yeah, I think it's going to look pretty cool. I'm just not sure how I'm going to fix it yet. I'm thinking I've got key mod on the rail and I've got those vent holes. I think and the diameter is pretty close. It's like a 2 1/4 diameter for the handle, and the key mod rail is right at 2 inches. So I think it'll fit over that snugly, and then I could just use like a pop rivet or something to hold it in place. But we'll see. That's going to be a project for a later date.
All right. I thought that was pretty cool, and I've seen the video that you referenced that inspired you to make that.
Yeah, like I saw that and I was like, I need that in my life.
Let's see, what do we got here?
Okay, that is the Tantal 762x39. So the story with this was it RTG guns. They do a lot with Polish Kalashnikov stuff and like HK stuff.
Right.
I've been dealing with that
importing
guy.
all those parts in.
Right. I've been dealing with that guy for like 12 years. So I used to build the HK90 series. So like I'd build them from kits and stuff, like weld up the receivers and bend them and all that stuff. So I was dealing with him on some HK parts, and he sent the handguard, the Tantal handguard, that brown Bakelite handguard, not the lower piece, just the top upper part. And I got it. I didn't know what it was, and I messaged him like, "What is this?" Like, "Oh, that's the handguard from a Tantal." It's like, well, I didn't order this. He's like, "Keep it. It's going to cost more in post than that thing's worth." So this was like 8-9 years ago, and I threw it in a drawer. And I was just like cleaning out my shop, and I found it, and I was like, I can do something with this $5 upper handguard. So I designed a whole build specifically around that handguard. So I ended up just like most of that gun is either Tantal or barrel parts. So like that rear sight block with the notches in it, that's a barrel rear sight block. I think it cost me like $200 or something like that. Everything on there, the whole front end there is barrel, except for like the gas block and the front sight. The trunnion is WBP just because they're good stand-ins for just about anything. 762x39. There's some quality problems with the WBP like kits, but it's not too bad. And if you do have a problem, like Arms of America will switch them out, like no questions asked. And then I think I actually have a Norinco bolt and carrier in there. And then the rear trunnion there, that's the barrel, so that I can use the barrel specific rail if I wanted to.
Yeah, that goes over the desk cover. I like the wild optic mount you have on that thing.
That's at RTG Guns right now. operators are standing by. It costs like, the only bad thing to that is it's Weaver. It's not Picatinny. So if you have something like I had a what is it, ACOG mount on there from LaRue, and it didn't fit just because it's Weaver and that thing's set up for Picatinny. So as long as you got something that you can mount on that thing that's a single screw, you're okay. But if you got anything that's double screw, it might not fit. I think they're cheap. I think they're like, if you got a barrel, I think that's like $100, and they're excellent. Like the height over bore seems goofy, but if you're used to passive aiming, it's your golden pony boy. You'll be able to sight it in no problem.
I believe I've got one here that I've even seen some people give you grief about in the comments, and I've got one too.
It's me. Oh yeah, there we go.
This is the Pioneer Arms 5.56 underfolder that you've actually done some pretty cool stuff to.
Yeah, so I got the Pioneer Arm 5.56, and I throw a front end conversion on almost everything. That's just my jam. It just makes sense to me. So I had the JMac gas block, and I also had I hand thread everything. So I very rarely put the thread pitch on there that's supposed to be on there, especially if I'm going to pin and weld. Because if I'm going to pin and weld a flash hider or a muzzle brake, what do I care what the thread pitch is? You know what I mean? Especially if I'm not going to use a suppressor. The diameter of most AKM barrels matches up perfectly with the 15 millimeter HK91 muzzle device, or the was it 9 by 16 by 24 left hand, for the fouls. So I use a lot of foul. I have a lot of foul FAL flash hiders, and I got a lot of HK91 flash hiders just because I'm lazy. So I put the gas block front sight combo on there, and then I was looking at it, I was like, I wonder if I put a FAL flash hider on here, if I can get my FAL bayonet to lock in. And sure enough, it does.
And it looks pimp. I think
that was actually
cool.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun to do. Like, I took that to the range, and I had some guy go, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "Well, it's a bayonet. Like, is that legal?" Like, as far as I know, it's legal. Like,
I hope it is.
Are you a Fed?
Yeah, just another shot of it there. You can actually see the exposed muzzle device.
Now that I kept that in my truck for a while, not because I was afraid for my life, but I got a range like right up the street for me, and anytime I got like extra time on the way home, I'll just stop in and just pound out some rounds. So that was really kind of cool to keep in the truck. I mean, nice, small, handy, folded up. The only thing I'll say about the Pioneer Arms 5.56 is I like to use the Texas Weapon Systems biddy mounts. I'm a big fan of those. They're not compatible with that rear sight block just because of the 5.56 ramp. So if you try to use like any kind of like Arturo or the biddy mount, it'll just be like elevated. So you're basically shooting in the sky. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So just a little caveat there. So if you buy one of those and you want the underfolder and you want to use like a biddy mount or even a Texas dog leg, it probably won't work just because of the angle of the ramp.
Okay. One final gun, and then we'll get back to the comments. Then we'll get into the spiciest of topics, I think. But this was a cool video. This was a gun that you actually saved, and it turned out to be a pretty sick build, this RPK that you put together.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's actually a friend of mine, Quentin. He just texted me. He's watching. So, Quentin, your gun's on here. So, the story behind this, I got a whole video on it, but just to recap, a friend of mine, he was going through his dad's guns, and the story I got told was his dad had a RPK from Classic Firearms from like, early 2000s, like right after the assault weapons ban set. Like, he bought this thing, and it was basically a RPK kit, Romanian RPK kit with a M72 barrel, the Yugo M72, which is thicker than the Romanian RPK. And the receiver was a Nodak Spuds, like AKM receiver. And he just basically sent it to me and he said, "What can you do with it?" And I was like, "Melt it down for slag." This thing is completely jacked. But, he wanted to save it just because it had like sentimental value or something like that. So, trying to source like RPK parts right now is like almost impossible. Like a full kit, it's just not happening. You're not going to find a trunnion. So I had this idea of like, what if we just used the Sharp's brother, what is that, the MB47 receiver?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we just use that for the receiver? That way I don't have to buy, this, I don't have to buy that. And it worked out pretty well. I lost the picture of it, like completed. That's like the step right before completion, but it turned out really, really cool. The thing just was just a beast. Like, I'm not a big fan of milled guns, just because it's heavier than the stamped and it does the same job. But I think the milled gun in this application, since that's supposed to be a light support weapon, was amazing.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Yeah,
I think the Sharps receiver in an RPK is smart. It's just a really cool thing, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone else do it. So I really liked that video, and I like that it's a salvaged build, which is so cool.
Well, again, what they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So the necessity was we wanted to save this turkey, but the problem was the trunnion had been chopped up to fit into an RPK. I'm sorry, an AKM receiver. So the trunnion was useless. A lot of the parts were useless just because, like, the rear sight block was just like so like worn out from them just forcing it over this Yugo 72 barrel. Like, it was crazy. They actually milled the fins down. I got the cooling fins on the barrel. They milled the fins of this barrel down. This was like a surplus chrome line barrel. This was the original barrel. So they milled the fins down just to fit this part on there, and it was just a shit show. like again, keep in mind, this was a Classic Arms gun from 20 years ago. This isn't the Classic Arms we know and love today. This was like, if you fantastic Classic Arms from like early 2000, like, I mean, I'm not saying that to be derogatory. I'm just saying the way it was just like, it was like back in the day when and people got to realize that too. Like, there weren't a lot of options for AK parts until recently. There wasn't a Childers. There wasn't a Childers guns that you can go to and get a specialty, RPK receiver. That didn't exist. All you had was Nodak Spuds putting out their AKM receivers. That's it. There weren't, Apex Arms with like unlimited bins of AK parts that you could like peruse. It was very hard to get AK parts for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, a bunch of Type 3 kits would come over.
Right.
And a big slug of those SLR 100H Bulgarian receivers came over, and dudes were building Type 3s left and right because they were like, the parts were there and the kits were there, the receivers were there, like everything was there. So there's a ton of Type 3s. In fact, there was a company that out of Houston, they went by Arsenal USA for a little while.
Yeah.
They were actually building Type 3 kits with AKM receivers because so many Type 3 kits came across. So it's like a heavy barrel Type 3 AKM thing. Tony's actually got like 3 of them. But and that company also built just a ton of shit on the SLR 100H. So everyone, Gordon Tech, Blue Mountain Ridge, I think was the name. Everyone was building on those Bulgarian receivers back then.
I had I think a Vector. Vector built.
Well, yeah, Vector, big name from those days.
I had a Vector with this crazy LaRue rear sight block mount. Like I always thought the rear sight block, what we know now as the Arturo and the Biddy mount, was always a great place to mount. So LaRue actually had one that was held in place by fucking magnets. Like,
how do those even work?
Not well, as I come to find out. So I was just cruising Gunbroker. This would have had to been like 2009, maybe 2010. And I was just cruising and I saw this like Vector, like milled gun. And again, I didn't know anything about it. I barely knew anything about Kalashnikovs at the time. I just saw milled gun with this like neat red dot mount on it. And it was just for the old Burris RMR type.
The fast fire?
Fast fires. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Fast fire too. And it was like $900, which, think about 2009, 2010, $1,000 for a Kalashnikov that was pretty spicy. So I was like, will you sell me just the mount? He's like, no, just the gun, and you get the mount with the gun. I'm not going to separate them. I was like, I'll buy it. Like, I want to check that mount out. and it was a horrible decision. Like that LaRue mount was terrible. They
Dang.
basically like crazy glued a magnet underneath the metal of the mount. So the only thing really keeping it in place was this crazy glued magnet. And I was like, this is horrible. I don't like this.
Man, wish you still had it. DV tips $10. Thank you, DV. Map again with $2. He said, "You guys missed the Carnicon content." Speaking for myself, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like I still watch Bullpups Hate You Too video. Like,
yeah,
you don't like Bullpups? Well, Bullpups hate you too. Love it. Love it.
His LMG video.
Oh my
so
God,
good.
that was beautiful.
The rounds
And
are
like,
rimmed for the extractor's pleasure. Oh God,
we're gonna shoot
so
this.
good.
We're gonna shoot this table of cocaine.
Yeah. Turns around. He's like, "Whoa, it's going great, boys." Man, that was so good. Eric tips $5 and says, "Brad, good stuff. Keep it up." Thank you, Eric.
Thanks,
sure
Eric.
We're not missing anything else here, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. I think we have everyone covered. Cool. And what we'll do is we'll get through these last couple of topics, and then I know we've only been reading super chats. Just I got a whole list of stuff I want to get through, Brad. Once we get through my list, we'll open the floor up for a few minutes. I don't want to keep Brad here like much past 2 hours. He's got family in the background, but my next topic is the reason why you made a video saying that you're thinking about shutting the YouTube down and getting off the internet. You've made it very clear that you got doxxed more than once.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through how that happened and kind of I guess the mood that put you in, what you were thinking?
Well, the first time, yeah, I get spicy. I do. I can't help it. I get spicy. So I guess I was getting spicy with somebody in comments on my channel. This was, when most of my channel was veteran stuff. Now keep in mind, when I started this channel, I didn't even want to do gun stuff. That was not what I wanted. I've heard enough like war stories from people that have channels, and I was like, I'm not interested. My whole point of this channel originally was just to do veteran stuff, trying to help veterans. And I was getting spicy with somebody in the comments, and then I went to work, and I don't have cell phone service at my work. So like 8 hours later, I'm walking out of work and I'm just checking the comments, and I see, my home address and my name like in the comments of a video. Like, holy smokes, what the hell? So I deleted that comment, deleted all my videos, put out like a little video just saying, hey, I got outed. You guys win. I'm done. I don't need this shit. The funny thing is, like a week after that happened, I get a call from a Louisiana number. He's probably watching this right now, the scumbag. And he's like, called me, and he's like, hey, I'm the guy that doxed you. I was like, why the fuck are you calling me? Like, I just want to say it was a bad decision. I was, not in a good place, and it's like apologizing. I was like, great, go fuck yourself. And I hung up. Like I don't need this shit.
Whoa, I didn't know that part.
Yeah. Like, dude, I got not only a psychopath that knows where I live, but he's like calling me and stuff. So I blocked the number. Well, I didn't block the number yet. So fast forward, I bring the channel back, and this is a long drawn out story. And there's a guy that calls himself Rabbit Hole Reviews, right? And I did a video where I referenced Rabbit Hole Reviews just because he kind of gave all the examples of AK advice that I don't recommend. Like, nice guy. I'm going to put it out. Nice guy. I don't have any problems with him. He's a good dude. But like, he was recommending like the WBP for $1,000 over the Wasser 10 because it had a nicer finish and this and that. And I was like, I use his videos like a jumping off point. Like, who gives a shit about the finish? You're paying like an extra $300 just for finish. It doesn't matter. So anyway, that Louisiana number, texted me and said, hey, don't knock my channel. So I had in my mind that like, holy shit, is this like Rabbit Hole Reviews guy, like the guy that dokes me? So I did a video. It's like, hey, I don't know if it's him or not, but I think it's him. So that turned into like a little bit of a thing for like a week. And then I talked to the guy one-on-one. I was like, all right, this isn't him. This is just the original guy messing with me. So then I blocked him. And then I just kind of like got rid of all comments. I was like, I don't need this crap no more. And then I came back and, back in November, and I brought back some videos and started doing videos again. It was just more for my own mental health because I was dealing with my dad dying. He found out he had cancer and it wasn't good, and it was just a way for me to take my mind off things. But I started opening comments up again just to try to test the water because I know everybody loves comments. They love that interaction with you. And then sure enough, for no reason, somebody not only put my home address, but my family's name in the comments with a very cryptic message, "I will see you soon." And I was like, we are done. Like, I'm not having this shit. Like, I think it was over like Garantham. I think I made a comment he didn't like about Garantham. So, I got people like threatening my family because I don't watch Garantham's content. Like, and that's the thing. That's the problem I have. Like, people have been saying they want me to stay on the internet, and I appreciate it. And I don't want to disrespect anybody saying that, but it's just like, there's folks out there so disconnected from reality. They have no connection with reality that they are willing to threaten a man's family because he doesn't like the same gun as you. Like, that's a hard sell to stay on the internet when you got that kind of stuff going on. Like,
Well,
and that's why the comments aren't on. I left comments on for my PSA video because I've been accused of hiding behind my no comments. Like, look, I gave you
that's
2
the
days.
thing, man. People
gave
give
you
you
2
crap
days.
about the whole no comments thing.
Yeah.
And when you hear something like that, I don't blame you at all. And I won't say the channel's name, but you know who I'm talking about. We talked about it, but there's another gun tuber out there that like had I don't know if these guys were fans or whatever, but someone knew everything about him because he's all over the internet. They found
Right.
out where he lived and they decided, well, we're just going to go rob him. We've seen his whole gun collection on YouTube. And, anyway, I mean, an attempt was made and apparently it got really, really spicy and, no more details, but like they found plans that these guys had like all written out on paper. Like, here's the guy. This is the YouTuber that we're going to go rob. If we have to, deal with the guy, if we encounter him, then this is how we're going to deal with him. And like, they had it all mapped out, and that's all, if he was not on YouTube, that would never have happened. So
yeah, that's the thing.
When something like that happens in your comments, like, stranger things have happened than just getting doxxed in your comments. Like, other well-known YouTubers have had people show up and try to rob them once they find out where you live. Like, it has happened. So, I sympathize with you having the reaction of, you know what, family comes first. This isn't worth it. But, there's I've got his video pulled up here, and I won't show it now because I kind of wanted to close our live stream on it. And there's a couple more things I wanted to talk about. But you had an outpouring of people begging you not to turn off YouTube. And I think everyone sympathizes with how you're feeling, and no one wants your family to be at risk. But I don't think anyone wants you to go. And that's like 90% of why I wanted you to come on this live stream. 90% that don't delete your channel, please. And the other 10% is this next topic that we're going to get into. And you touched on it a little bit. Why is it that it seems like in this gun world, it seems like it's really like deep in the AK community, but the gun world as a whole seems to be very quick to straight up hate one another over basic, very like minimum disagreements. Hey, I reload an AK different than you. Fuck you, nerd. Like, hey, I don't PSA, but I do. Well, here's your family's address. I'll see you soon. Like, why do you think
it's
the community can just be so, I know people hate it when I use this word, can be pretty fucking toxic to one another if we have the most simple disagreements over our preference of guns and how we enjoy guns?
My personal belief is just a lot of us feel like we have no control over anything. We're getting taxed to death. Inflation's out of control. A lot of us feel like our votes don't matter. There's a lot of things going on in this world that we have absolutely no control over, but we can control like how we respond to somebody who doesn't like something that we don't like, that we like. So I think that's that little bit of feeling of control when you call somebody out, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You like that 7.62 by 39. I think that just gives you just that little bit of, leeway you need to feel good about yourself that day. That's just my personal opinion. I think we're all just stressed out. I think we're all just kind of had it with just the way things are going sometimes, and just that ability just to tackle somebody that doesn't reload the gun the way that you'd reload it, or that you don't like the gun that they like, or that's just your little way of feeling a little bit more empowered than what you normally do. That's just my personal opinion. And it's not just here, it's anywhere. It's sports, it's it's everywhere.
I guess and I know it's everywhere, but I think the one reason it bothers me when it bubbles up in the gun community is the fact that we have enough freaking enemies just trying to enjoy this thing that's totally illegal for us to enjoy. We have so many enemies not wanting us to enjoy this right that we have. And yet we are at each other's throats constantly over bullshit that doesn't matter.
I was on Reddit for like all of 4 days, and I just stumbled across a Reddit site called Liberal Gun Owners. So these are people that lean left, but they love guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
You scroll through it. These are people that have ARs. These are people that have Glocks. These are people that have granddad shotguns, So I feel like, it's a point to where there's no reason that we can't associate with these folks and say, hey, you like guns, I like guns, let's talk about guns. Let's not talk about anything
Lucas
else.
Bodkin says that they shouldn't have gun rights.
I know.
Because they're liberals.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, is we just feel like there's no common ground between us and whoever you consider the other side. And I say this all the time, all the time on my channel. I say this, we are so busy watching the stupid Fox News and the CNNs and things like that that's dividing us, that we're not talking to our neighbors. Like, there's a guy across the street that has Biden signs and stuff that has an AR. I'm sure I can go over to that guy and just talk to that guy about guns, and we can find enough common ground to start a conversation where we're not screaming at each other in the street. So anyway, that's just my little soapbox right there. It's just, if we don't find common ground, we're going to get our rights taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And can't agree to disagree. All right.
I think that's the issue, is that people just can't say, you know what, I agree to disagree, but let's still be friends. We don't have to dox each other on the internet.
Yeah.
We have different interests. It's totally okay. But one thing we do have in common is that we enjoy guns, and we don't want to lose that. So, there's something we have in common.
We talked about this the other day. I mean, the Clash community used to be great. Nobody cared what you ran. You showed up with a piece of shit SAR, SAR-3 that barely worked. We're like, hey, do the best you can, brother. We're not tearing you apart because you got a crappy Romanian, gun from the 90s. Now it's all about, oh man, that thing's a piece of shit. You can't even mount a laser to it. Don't worry about what if I can mount a laser to this thing. None of your business.
Yeah, now, and I've recently lost a ton of followers on Instagram, and just in general, the whole Lucas and PSR thing. And I know you weren't privy to that. I know you got better things to do than to watch all the drama on YouTube. But that really threw me for a loop, man. Just the thought that someone with the stroke, dare I say, power, the following that T-Rex and Lucas has, to put it out in the ether that, you have this responsibility to be wholesome 100% of the time, especially if you're going to put gun videos on the internet. Otherwise, you are, how can I put this? You are, I guess, provoking leftists into thinking it's okay to own guns, but guns aren't for everyone. Leftists shouldn't have guns. If you have blue hair, you shouldn't have guns. Gay people shouldn't have guns. I know this is something that people just do not agree with me on, but I don't agree with any of that. I think if you're going to be an American, if it's legal for any American should do it. It's not Minority Report. We shouldn't be afraid of what someone might do with a gun because of their political affiliation. Freedom has unfortunate consequences. You have the First Amendment. Someone's going to call you a dickhead, and you got to deal with it. But they could still call you a dickhead, just like someone you might not like, if they're not a non-felon, might go buy a gun They might have blue hair, listen to Nirvana, and vote for Joe Biden, but Nirvana's dope though. That was a bad example, but you know what I mean. They can still own the gun if they're a non-felon. That's America. There's just going to be things you don't like with that much freedom.
Well, I mean, the underlying problem is not that liberals are buying guns. The underlying problem is that we're at a point where we just don't feel like we can just talk to each other. Like I heard somebody say this the other day is, you know, when their father was growing up, they'd all watch the news from the same source, you know, Walter Cronkite, and then it didn't matter if they leaned left or leaned right, they would just have a conversation about it around the water cooler. These days, you got your own like right channel, you got your own left channel, and you just watch your right and your left channel, and you get fed this, you know, nonsense, you know, this idea, you know, indoctrination nonsense on whatever your political beliefs are, and you just feel like you can't even talk to the other guy. So the problem is not that, you know, people leaning left are getting guns. The problem is we feel like we can't talk to each other, and you know, we're worried that the people that don't like us are going to use the guns. You know, like, you know, my heritage is, you know, Jewish. I'm pretty vocal about that. I had great grandparents that escaped Poland during the Blitzkrieg. You know, it's like they really wish they had guns at that point. So it doesn't matter what your ideology is. If you feel like you're being oppressed, you want guns, you know, but the problem is we just feel like we're just being oppressed by whatever the other side is, you know. So if you're on the left side, you feel like the right's oppressing you. If you're on the right side, you feel like the left's oppressing you. And that's a very real feeling when you're not talking to each other. I'm just talking out of my ass for like the last 5 minutes, but that's just the way I feel. I feel like the inability of whatever side you lean to talk to each other is just getting this paranoia feeling that, you know, any day now that other side's going to use those guns on us. And the reality is, and I'm going to get your channel canceled for this, the people we should be worried about is the people making the laws and stealing our money, you know. Like,
that's what the guns are for. That's why
yes.
we have them.
Yes, but
not to be scared of our neighbor with blue hair. Like, that's
correct.
not why we have guns.
The system is making us afraid of our neighbor. That's the problem. You know,
yeah, they've done a very good job.
Let's focus on the real problem, which is the career politicians that get kickbacks from, you know, the government or from the big companies, and, you know, steal our money. That's what we should be focused on, not the dude with the Biden flag across the street.
Yeah. Kalash Kamaz tips $5 and he says, fellas, I gotta head to bed. Brad, keep up the good work. I love you too. Even if you don't remember your own vice president, remember this is your running mate.
Oh, that's right.
For 2024. You still have 4 months, dude. You should really start campaigning if you have any shot at winning. This is probably your best chance to win this year.
Well, I'm going to go the Chris Christie route and get to lap band surgery and like suck Trump's ass and like really try to like position myself just for Trump to say, nope, not happening. Sorry. New Jersey's out. I'm going to go with Pence.
Well, before we close the video off today's live stream with questions, I want to close off with, I mean, dude, I don't know if you can see the live stream. There's a button on your stream where you can actually click to see the public comment section.
No idea.
It's on there. You can click on it, and there's hundreds of them. But I want to touch on something Trench Grenade said. You know, you had threatened to leave YouTube, and he made a really good point. And those of you that aren't following Trench Grenade, you really should. He made a really good video breaking down Brad's YouTube channel, the following that you have. I think you're over like 15,000 subs, and whether you like it or not, you influence people, and people look to you for influence, or at least people look to you for advice or just your opinion on something. Like tens of thousands of people will end up watching your videos, and you know, they'll get something out of that. So you really would leave a big void behind if you were to leave YouTube over some asshole that decided to do something like that. But we all understand why you feel that way. But I really have to agree with Trench Grenade here. I think YouTube would be a worse place without you. So I really hope, and I'm sure the comment section hopes, that you reconsider and that you don't leave YouTube. And, you know, like he says in this video, you know, with proper security protocols, cameras at your house, and, you know, just being aware, you know, I think you'll be all right, dude. But I really hope you reconsider taking the YouTube channel down. I know you have a few videos that you're going to release, and maybe you will, maybe you won't, but hopefully you reconsider. That's all.
I got enough content loaded right now to go until like the first week of September. It was August, but then I got a little YouTube ban for being stupid. But we'll see how it goes in September. If I'm how salty I'm feeling. But I'm actually doing a live stream with Trench Grenade tomorrow. He wants to talk about like 7.62 by 39 versus 5.56. I was like, all right, man, I'll talk about anything you want. I don't give a shit. But
yeah, and to hammer that point home earlier about people not getting along, I said this to my wife Rachel before we got online. I said, I feel like a lot of people that if they didn't know that Brad and I knew each other would probably think that we wouldn't get along because I like Yugo pattern AKs. He's very vocal about not liking them.
I don't like them.
5.56 AKs are Bay 100% for me, and I know you don't see the point to them, and I get that. And that is okay, dude. Like, we don't have to like the same things. Most people, well, not most, but there are some people that if they were to disagree on either of those topics online, well, you got the shitty end of the stick on what people would do if they disagreed. And sometimes people will do that over minor things like that. So,
well, like the 5.56 AK thing, I just don't see I'm all about practicality. If I'm going to own a gun, it's going to be for the practical purpose of defense, or it's a toy. I don't want to say toy. It's something fun that I own. So for me, like a 5.56 Kalashnikov, which I own some, those are just like things I take out and have fun. It's not something I'm seriously going to defend my life on. But like AK Mario put it perfectly a couple years ago when he did Me Fuel Rants. This was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. He said, I do competitions. I'd love to run 5.45 in competitions, but some of the ranges I go to, they want fragmentable ammo. You think I can get fragmentable ammo in 7.62 by 39 or 5.45? No. So I need to run a 5.56 Kalashnikov. And that's a perfectly valid point. I get it, but I don't do competitions. You do competitions, so that works for you. You like your M90. I think it's a piece of shit. I actually bought it. I told you about this. I bought an M90.
Because of my video, yeah, I know.
I saw your video on the M90. I was like, I'm gonna give that a shot. I'm gonna try it out. And I think they were going for like $1,500 at the time. And I was like, this thing's a steaming pile of dog shit. So I blame you. Yeah.
It's
son of a bitch.
I've had good luck with them, and I've always liked 5.56 AKs or 223 because I was buying 223 steel case ammo for years for so cheap. I mean, dude, I got to a crossroads when I first got into AKs. I had a 7.62 like everyone else does, and I kind of decided, well, I'm either going to get 5.45 or I'm going to get 223 because I want a 74. A 106 just came across my desk before something else did on Texas Gun Trader, and I was like, well, that's cheap, and I've got ammo, so all right. And I kind of never looked back, and that's all the thought that went into it. And that was years ago, and I went down that path. If I would have gone down 5.45 earlier, then I probably would have been rah 5.45 from the beginning, and I absolutely loved that round, but I got into it too late. I got into it right at the ass end of COVID when it was still affordable, but it just didn't last long.
No.
So I just don't have the money to continue to get into it at this point.
Well, I sold all my 5.45 ammo and my guns to buy another Valmet. Like, I don't know, I just got a wild hair at my ass. I was like, this was during like the lockdowns and stuff. We just got that, that lockdown money and all that stuff. And I was like,
yeah,
you know what? I want a Valmet. I think I blame Ian McCall, and I think he put out some Valmet videos. And I was like, you know what? I've had a Valmet before. I want another Valmet. So I found one. I sold all my shit, and then I got the Valmet, and I was like, now I know why I sold it in the first place. I hate this fucking thing. So now I was like, I want to get back into 5.45, and that's when it was like,
yeah,
gun. You couldn't find a parts kit to save your life, and I went with a WBP kit I think like a year ago or something like that, and it's okay, but the firing pins on those WBPs, the small caliber ones, aren't that great. So I'm just worried about longevity. So I finally got my hands on a AIM-74 kit that I'm gonna do. So that's gonna be the next project. So I might, if I stick around, you'll be seeing AIM-74 content. We'll see.
All right. Guess that means you're sticking around then, because we all want to see it.
Yeah.
So we're just now hitting 2 hours. I know it's almost 11 o'clock. So why don't we take a few minutes? We'll answer some questions out of the comments section, and then I'll let you get out of here, dude. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Oh, that's no problem.
This has been one of my all-time favorite live streams. This has been really good, and the interactions have been awesome. People have thoroughly enjoyed having you here. So now's the time. I know we haven't paid attention to the comments much, but please drop your questions below, reasonable ones. Some of these have been a little spicy, and I just won't click on them.
Spice hay.
Jerry K's in the comments. What up, Gary? Jerry?
Who?
My buddy Jerry.
Oh,
I shoot with him on a monthly basis at a match. Pretty cool dude.
you know,
click on his comment here.
Mike Pappas always says that would be magical. I find myself saying that's going to be magical all the time at work.
Dude, I rip off so many one-liners from Pappas.
I love Pappas.
That's why I call Rachel my first wife everywhere I go. Totally got that from him.
That'd be magical.
Jerry wants to know, have you ever heard of Terrence Pop? What is that? Do you know any? Jerry, what are you talking about here? Terrence Pop? What is that?
Please clarify. I don't know what that is.
Okay. Jerry, break it down for us R-worded amongst you. Have you guys messed around with 9x39 AKs? Too cost prohibitive to venture into it or not? Now it's no point getting into it, but it is awesome back when it was available.
Again, I always look at things from practicality. What's the practical purpose of that? What am I doing with that? I mean, that's the 300 blackout of the AK world, and I hate 300 blackout. You know, I really don't see any purpose to it. That's just my prerogative. Like if I had skinny jeans and you know, big black glasses on, you know, really hipster type dude, maybe, but I'm not that guy, so I just don't see any purpose to it.
Our mod of the chat wants to know, Brad, if you could only pick one, what's your favorite crime?
Favorite crime of passion.
Okay. How's the ME rail dust cover been, Lemon?
It's doing okay. I was skeptical. I'm very skeptical of dust covers in general. Haven't had good luck. Doesn't matter if they're Zenecos or the Texas dog legs or, you know, whatever. I just haven't had good luck with dust covers. So this one caught my interest just because of its ability to mount at the rear at the tab for the recoil spring instead of the front. You know, it locks in there, but the real tension point is at the back there. So this is actually the Gen 2. The Gen 1s of the military equipment looked exactly like the Texas dog leg. This one's just like a little bit different. This is like ripped off from the FAB dust covers. So, you know, it's holding okay. I haven't tested in a while because I've been tied up with the PSA 101 bullshit. But so far it's doing good. It's returning to zero and it's holding zero. Now they do have, the military equipment have their Gen 3, which is like a combination of the rear mount and the Texas dog leg type mount at the rear sight. So I think that's a little bit more expensive at like $275. So if I had to do over, I'd go with that just because it has two solid mounting points instead of just one. I hope that made sense. I was rambling.
All right. Red Zeppelin wants to know for both of us, favorite liquor, go.
I don't drink. I stopped drinking when I decided to start treating my PTSD. So if you have PTSD or depression, alcohol is the worst thing for you. So don't do it. But I used to drink Jack Daniels like a fish.
Same. Did you ever buy the RH10? Is that something that you referenced in one of your videos?
Yeah, I wanted to do a affordable duty Kalashnikov, and RH10 was my starting point because it has the Wasser 10 core parts that I love. So keep in mind just because of my ability to build, you know, assemble AKs, whatever you want to say, I'm always more concerned with the core parts than anything else. So as long as the core parts are solid, I can work with it. You know, that's my biggest gripe with like some of the other brands like PSA, stuff like that. The core parts are shit. I can't do anything with shitty core parts, but the Wasser 10 core parts are solid. But the RH10 is just like a little cheaper version of the Wasser 10 with the same core parts. So I was going to buy an RH10 for like $650 and like trick it out on the internet just to show, hey, this is what you can do to make an acceptable duty weapon with very little. Well, this is the funny story. So the guy I bought it from on Gunbroker gave me the runaround for like 2 weeks. And I finally just said, hey, what's going on with this thing? Am I getting it or what? And he says, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have an RH10. I was like, then what? They give me my money back. He's like, well, I'll sell you a Wasser 10. It's more money. And I actually have that in stock. And I was like, okay, well, you better send me something in the next 3 freaking days,
Yeah.
like, so I bought an RH10 and it turned out to be non-existent, and the guy upgraded me to a Wasser 10 for the same money. So what you got was Wasser 10 content instead of the RH10, but it's essentially the same gun. The only difference is the barrel is a little bit skinnier on the RH10, and you got the
You don't have
Romanian,
the combo block.
yeah, the combo block. I hate their combo block just because it has a hood on it. So if you're going to run like a low optic, that hood just gets right in your way, which I'm not a big fan of.
Pew Pew Archives wants to know what kind of AK carry rigs does Brad prefer, belt kit or chest rig?
It really depends. Like, that's more like a mission question. So, like when I was in Iraq, we do small, like 1 day operations. I just go with a chest rig. If I'm just going to go out for like a day, I just got a chest rig. But if I'm going to go out for like a week, I'm going to have my full belt set up. So I have multiple chest rigs, and I also have a pretty substantial sustainment rig. So I go out to the mountains and just like F off for like a week. I'm going to take my my full belt kit. I'm not just going to like try to pack everything into a chest rig. But if I'm just going out for like a day, I'll just take my little patrol rig that holds 4 magazines, my radio, and first aid kit. So it really depends on what I'm doing. But for the most, I'm a big fan of chest rigs, and I'll do the plug here. What's his name? Hub City Outdoors. Excellent,
Got a couple of
excellent,
his.
excellent chest rigs. You have to wait. Like he makes them as you order them, so you might have to wait a little bit, but it's worth the wait, in my opinion. He took I bought one of his very first chest rigs, which he took the Chi-Coms, and he used to just put like whatever he wanted on the side.
Those are my favorite.
Yes. So I had him put Alice on one side. So one side he literally cut an Alice belt up and stitched it to the side, because I had this Alice patch, Alice saw pouch that I used for all my boat raids back in the day. I just wanted to put it on there. So excellent chest rigs from that dude. But if you want a budget, just get the Blackhawk pouches and put it on a Molly rig. I think you get the Blackhawk pouches, AK pouches, off Amazon for like $20 or something like that. You might not like the color, but they're functional.
Here's a decent question that you could probably answer. I know it might be difficult, but top 3 starter AKs.
I always say Romanian Wasser 10, just because the core parts are there. Now, unfortunately, if you buy a current production Wasser 10, it's a lot shittier than they were just 3-4 years ago. Like the one I bought recently was a current production, and the finish was extra shitty, and the gas block didn't have the bayonet lug. So you're not getting the gun you got 5 years ago, but the core parts are still excellent. The trunnion's excellent, the bolt's excellent, the carrier's excellent. So you're getting a good gun that you can grow with. So if you buy it out of the box, it doesn't take a whole lot of money you put an Ultimac on there, $100. Put your Texas Dogleg on there, $150. Your optics ready, you're ready to go, and you can grow with it. So let's say 5 years from now, you say, you know what, I want to go ahead and put a front sight combo on it. It's the AKM pattern, so all the front sight combo gas blocks on the market will fit. It's a good starting point that you can grow into. That's my only recommendation. There's no top 3 for me. It's if you're going to buy your first Kalashnikov, Wasser 10.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I agree that the new ones have definitely gone downhill compared. Like there was like a sweet spot 3-4 years ago where they were like the best Wassers ever. Super straight. Now the furniture shit, they changed up the gas block. It's just weird.
I think that they're trying to that's one thing that PSA is doing to everybody is, they're pricing their stuff so low that everybody has to compete with their pricing. So they still, Centuries are importing these Wasser 10s. They have to compete with that $700 Gen 3. So they have to keep cutting corners to make that price point. And it's just getting a crappier and crappier gun imported.
It's a good point.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. I mean, look at KUSA. If I'm just coming into the Kalashnikov game and I'm looking at 2 Kalashnikovs, I'm looking at a 750 Gen 3 and the KUSA 101, for how much were those things going for? Like $1,400, whatever they were. $1,300. Yeah. So if I don't know shit about Shine when it comes to Kalashnikovs, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the set 750. Yeah.
Sure. That decision's made dozens of times a day.
Yeah.
Purely based on price.
Every day.
This, I guess, user, they don't have an account. If you ever do leave YouTube, will you leave the videos up so we can see them on into the future and help other people learn good AK info? Or will you shut her down and take everything down?
Probably leave some videos up that I think will be helpful. Like I have a video on how to select an AK. I'll probably leave that one up. But like the individual projects, probably not. Maybe some of the product videos, because reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now is because I remember being that guy 10, 12 years ago that watched hours and hours of YouTube trying to learn as much as I can, and just really searching for that niche review on a product. Like how many people are out there really reviewing the military equipment top cover? Not a whole lot. So I might leave a video like that up just so if somebody's thinking about buying that individual product, they can find my review and find something meaningful. But a lot of my personal project ones will probably come down just because who's that helping? Who's being helped to watch me put together a Tantal 762 by 39.
Cap 3 Town VA tips $5. Big thanks for sharing your early videos, Mr. Grenade, and thank you for all the recent content. Much love to you both. A stream in the books.
Streams.
Let's see. I saw one. So this is probably the third time he's asked, what is your beef with Midwest Industries?
I hate them. I don't know. I mean, they work. Don't get me wrong. They work. I was running a Midwest Industries Gen 1 on my Clash Bash gun just because the whole point of that gun was to set it up like Children of Men. The Polish dude from Children of Men is like my ultimate like Clash cinema dude. So he had like a Midwest Industry type rail on there, but they work. They're heavy. They're bulky. They're not great rails. When you get into like their more recent stuff, like their what is it? Their knockoffs of the Zenico stuff. Like I haven't had my hands on one, but I'm seeing the videos and I'm just not impressed.
Coke Man actually has a pretty good review on that stuff. If you're into Coke Man, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's got a brutally honest video about all the Midwest Alpha stuff. Because that Midwest gun was sent to like every gun tuber out there, and they all said really good things about it. And then I got my hands on one of the Midwest Alpha stocks, and super heavy. Dude, it's wicked heavy, and they unfold rather easy. They collapse in on themselves rather easy, almost dangerously easy. But just the sheer weight of it, I was like, bro, this is
exactly
so heavy.
They're really good at like looking good, but when you actually run with them for a while, that weight adds up. Ounces equals pounds and pounds equals pain. You just don't want to run with that weight.
I recently picked up a 7.62 Saiga.
Nice.
Where can I find reasonable parts for the conversion? I would like a Russian rear trunnion, gas block, and front sight post.
I mean, why do you want a Russian rear trunnion? What's the benefit from that? Just to say you have a Russian rear trunnion?
That part probably doesn't matter. No one's ever going to see it.
Yeah, but like what do you want for a gas block? You just want like a 90-degree gas block? I mean, you can go to K-Bar and get 90-degree gas blocks for like $80. They look pretty close. Front sight post, if you want the 24 millimeter front sight post, I'd hate to say it, PSA is probably your only option. I don't know too many people actually putting out a decent 24 millimeter gas block. I know Meridian had some plans to do it like 3-4 years ago. I don't know what happened with that. I haven't seen them in a while.
Man, Riley makes a bunch of small parts.
Do they make it or do they buy from PSA? Because I heard they just buy their parts from PSA.
No, like a lot of people don't know that Riley actually makes a lot of parts that other AK builders use.
Oh, cool.
But they'll never admit it. But they do their own forgings.
Okay, that's cool then.
Let's see. Sean tips $5. What do you think of G3s? I bought an HK21. It's a kit. It's a belt-fed G3. I build in P5s, but 308 seems to be a different beast.
So I love the G3 platform. If we're talking 7.62 NATO, I really like the G3 platform just because there's no gas system. You know, like people talk all their crap about the FALs and how much they love them and how they're the free, was it the arm of the free world or whatever bullshit that is. It still has a gas system that, you know, is not very tunable. So like I had a DSA FAL and I had a Israeli pattern FAL, and it was the same thing. Like you turn the gas all the way down, it's still thumping you pretty hard. So what's the point of that gas system other than to like turn it way up when you don't clean it for like 2 years? So I really don't see the point of FAL. So a good, you know, the G3 is an excellent platform in my opinion. You know, there's no gas system. It's simple. And as long as you operate it correctly, it'll run. What I mean by operate it correctly, you know, you got to make sure that when you change the mags, you don't just slingshot it. You actually cock the charging handle back, put it into position, change your mag, and then you hit it. Get the old HK slap. If you don't give it the HK slap on reload, you're going to get like a little bolt gap, and you're going to be out of time. Those things live and die by timing just because of the roller lock, roller delay, blowback. So if you're out of time, you don't feed correctly. So the way to keep it in time, put it in, HK slap, load it. Now, if you're not willing to do that, don't get a G3. That was pretty long-winded, but I like the G3s.
All right, I'm wading through a bunch of silly questions, trying to find a good one. Here we go. I think you have one of these. What does Brad think of the Galil?
What's the point?
How dare you?
How dare I? Yeah.
Stop
so
it.
I mean, it's a 5.
Hold on there, brother. Hold on there,
whoa,
dude.
Whoa.
Hold on there, dude.
What do we got? What do we got?
Don't you have one of these?
Not anymore. Now, if you look closely, look at that front sight tab. That is the larger South African tab.
Yep.
So I've built this specifically to look like the R5. So there's a lot of R5 parts in there, just because I wanted to pretend like you know, I was defending Rhodesia against the heathen hordes. You know, because I am a roadie bro.
Oh, dude. Let's not get political, all right, dude? Nothing I hate. If there's one thing I hate,
I got my Rhodesian.
It's gun tubers getting political about Rhodesia.
Lion lager brewed, bottled in Rhodesia. You know, I'm a roadie bro. Yeah. But no, I put it. I've never built that gun. I never built a Galil, and I just wanted the experience. So I bought a SAR parts kit from, I think, Apex for like $300, and then I think I got a Tort receiver, and I just wanted to put it together to see, you know, how it was. And honestly, if you're just getting in the building, a Galil is a good starting point because it deletes a lot of the riveting process, so you can just focus on things like barrel population. Now, head spacing is a little bit tricky just because the barrel actually screws in, and you have a torque value. There's no cross pin, so you have to torque the barrel at, like, I'm a little fuzzy on the specs. I'm going to say 120, 125 foot-pounds, which, you know, that you better have either a huge breaker bar or, you know, a cousin named Jim to, you know, get you the torque you need for that 120. But, you know, I did it just basically for the experience. They're pretty simple. And, you know, if you want to get into building, that's a great start, just because the kits are still pretty cheap. I think you can get them for like $400. The receivers are pretty pricey, but, you know, it's a good way just to get your beak wet in that.
Map again with $2 says M26 should open up his own shop. What's stopping you?
My inability to deal with customers.
Yeah.
So let me put it in perspective. So I've done this with, you know, friends of mine. Friends of mine say, hey, I want you to build a gun. And I'll say, all right, this is what you need. And they say, well, I saw this YouTube video that says I really should be having that. It's like, it's your money, I'll do it. But you asked me what you need. I'm telling you what you need. And you're saying that you saw a YouTube video. Yeah. So, you know, you run into that sort of stuff a lot when you run in the shop. You know, somebody just saw a YouTube video and now they, you know, they want to tell you how you should do it, how you should build it. And it's just like, I've been building these for a while. Sure, it's your money. Sure. What do you want to do? So dealing with that on a daily basis, I'm not interested. I have been toying with the idea, because I buy and sell all the time. I'm always buying and selling on Gunbroker. I have a kind of a business relationship with a local FFL. They do all the transfers for me. I've been toying with getting an FFL, and if I do get an FFL, I've been contemplating the idea of like rebuilding people's PSA Gen 3s, just because I'm thinking about it. How many PSA Gen 3s are out there? How many of them aren't riveted correctly? How many of them need new bolts? So if I wanted to, I could probably get my FFL and, you know, do a shop type thing, just strictly just repairing people's Gen 3s, and I'd probably make a pretty good living off that. But again, it just comes down to, you know, do I really want to deal with customers? I don't know.
Rabbit Hole Reviews. Pretty sure you mentioned their name earlier.
Yeah.
They paid $2 whole to tell you that they like Midwest mounts and they haven't had any issues. So suck on that.
Yeah. Again, he's a great guy. We had a misunderstanding that was completely my fault, my own, you know, my own stupidity to listen to somebody on the telephone. But he's actually a really good guy. Check his channel out. You know, just be warned. You know, he's the type of dude that's more interested in the finish than the bones of the AK. So I'm more interested in the bones. He's more interested if it looks good. Like, that's where we differ in opinion. But really good guy, and I recommend checking his channel out. I think he's at like 1,200 subs or something.
Another dude I want to recommend his channel, A Good Enough Gunner. Really good AK content, good PSA testing content as well. I believe he also has videos on the 101. So
I think I saw
some of his.
channel. I think I saw some of his 101 videos.
I promise you have. If you've seeked it out, then you've found his channel.
Well, the funny thing is, so in his videos, he shows like he's like using exclusively AAC ammunition, which is its old can of worms. But he was having a lot of the problems that I was having with my 101 before I regassed it, which is the AC ammo just kind of like getting hung up. So, and this is going to be a video that comes out Sunday. I found that my PSA 101 ran fine with Winchester 193 and 855. So I assumed it would run okay with the PSA AAC ammo. But what was happening was you'd get a short cycle every now and then. So like out of 100 rounds, I got 15 short cycles. I think just the pressure loading of that ammo is just so inconsistent that it just, every now and then you get one that just is like in the realm of like Wolf 223 pressure loading, and it just didn't want to cycle. So I saw that a lot with the videos of his gun, and I saw it with my gun. And what I did to fix mine is I opened up the gas port. Like I took off the gas block and saw the gas port was like 1.6 millimeters, which is pretty small. I mean, that's tiny. And I just opened it up to 2 millimeters, which is in line with the 545-74. And I don't have any of that problems anymore. So if that guy's watching, you might want to think about pulling your gas block off. Take a look at it if you're interested.
Mose and Chad, and he's not the first person to ask. A lot of people, see, here you go hurting feelings again. He wants to know, what kind of issues did you have with your M90? I'm at about 5,000 rounds, and mine has worked just fine. Just curious.
Okay. I paid $1,500 for this gun, right? It's a 5.56 gun. It's heavy. You know, it's very, very heavy. The MOA that on my gun was like 4 to 5 MOA. I mean, it was the grouping was ridiculous. Aftermarket availability, you know, I bought an Ultimac. You can't put an Ultimac because it has an adjustable gas system with the goofy D10 on it. Bought a, and I blame you for this, Clayco. I blame you. You know, I bought the Picatinny stock adapter, and then I put a SIG folding stock on it. So now the gun is completely out of balance. You got that big, thick barrel and that little tiny stock. It was just completely out of balance. I hated it.
Training issue.
Yeah, skill issue. So the way I looked at it, I got this gun that's like 4 to 5 MOA. It's completely out of balance. You know, there's no real aftermarket parts that I would want that I could put on it. And the amount of money I paid on it, I could have bought a AR SPR from like Daniel Defense. Better MOA, lighter, better mounting for optics. So that's how I view the M90. It's just you're paying a lot of money for something that's not going to perform nearly as well as just an off-the-rack AR. You know, and I know you love yours. You know, you win some competition.
To be fair, so Chad, I know Chad personally. He shoots a lot of competitions, so you know, he looks at a lot of AKs like I do. Like I don't really want to shoot ARs at competitions. It's just not fun for me. If
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot AKs at competitions, the only like cost-effective way to do that while staying
5.56.
competitive is 5.56.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to what AK Mario was saying is he likes the platform. He shoots competitions. If I want to shoot competition with this platform, I need 5.56. And if I shot competitions, I might see it the same way. But I'm from a practical defense standpoint. You know, if I'm going to shoot 5.56, why the hell am I using a Kalashnikov? You know, if something, and I say this all the time, you know, whatever your favorite doomsday conspiracy theory, you know, Red Dawn, you know, Chinese troops falling from the sky, aliens come down and say, take me to your leader. You know, America completely collapses. Whatever your favorite doomsday conspiracy theory is, if you have some goofball like Burrell or M90 or, you know, whatever your favorite 5.56 Kalashnikov is, and that gun breaks, you ain't finding spare parts. Whereas if you're just running just a simple AR, you know, if there's 10 houses on this block, I bet there's like 7 ARs in those houses. You know, interchangeability with magazines, parts compatibility with each other. You know, it's just a more practical, you know, standpoint if you're going to run 5.56. That's always been my stance. But again, I hate 5.56.
But if you want to have fun and look cooler,
Yeah.
5.56 AKs.
If I want the Riz, as the kids say.
Yeah. Jesus had Riz. No, I mean that's not what I was saying. Okay, $2. Tavor 7, M77, or G3.
Bullpup sucks. So anything bullpup, I'm not interested. M77, you know, so you're going to get a I'm assuming a 7.62 NATO Kalashnikov.
Yes, it's got the same M90 tunable gas block that you know and love.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, AR 308s exist.
But his question was G3. So you would take a G3 over an M77?
Damn right.
Damn.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Man.
The only thing the G3 does that I absolutely hate is, you know, you got the hooded front sight. So if you're going to run optics, you got to have that shit elevated. You know, that's if you got the stock adapter to raise the cheek well, it's not too bad. But Hornady Black 5.4. I had some of that stuff. I'm sure it was fantastic. But if you see the wound cavities that even 7 and 6 makes, there was a guy, I don't know if he's still on Instagram, but I think it was like South Texas Bandit. He's a big AK guy, Texas, and he's a hog hunter. So he took out all the popular calibers and shot hogs with it. And some of the like wound cavities he was getting with 5.45 on hogs was freaking gnarly. I mean, it was just like night and day difference between anything. You know, I mean, he was using like expensive 5.56, like 77 grain, and the wound cavity you were seeing with just the basic, you know, N7, you know, surplus stuff was crazy. I mean, it looked like, I'd say like a 3-inch hole coming out the back. So, you know, you already have a base round that has that kind of wound cavity. You know, how much more is the Hornady Black doing for you? You know, like, you already got like a, you know, like a baseball sized hole coming out of that dude. Like, what's the Hornady Black really doing?
Is WBP really mid?
In my opinion, yes, and that's just because I've been building with their parts for a few years. I got a trunnion in the garage that, you know, was tapered. What I mean by tapered is when you build, you want to mic up your trunnion. So you mic the trunnion up, top of my head, I think it's like 0.908, and you want your barrel to be no more than 0.910. So you want like a 0.002 interference between your barrel journal and the journal of your trunnion, right? So this WBP trunnion mic'd up perfectly on the outside, but it tapered down, you know, midway somehow. I don't know how the hell that happened. So that when I pressed the barrel in, it got stuck halfway and seized up. Now I have to cut the trunnion out. All right, that's one example. You know, I got other ones, but you know, there's just some quality control issues with their parts. Now, if you're buying a full gun that's been tested at the factory, I'm sure it's okay. But you know, think of it this way: you're paying $1,000 for a WBP. What more is that $1,000 doing? You know, so a Wasser is like $750, so you're paying like $200 to $300 more for that WBP, but it's still firing 7.62 by 39, and that's always been my point. Is there's nothing you can do to 7.62 by 39 to improve the performance. You know, it's not like 5.56 where, you know, you can get more velocity from a longer barrel, better twist rate. You know, you can't change the loading, drop, you know, you can do a lot to manipulate 5.56 to get optimal performance. When it comes to 7.62 by 39, the barrel length doesn't matter. The twist rate doesn't matter. You know, there's no amount of more money you can throw in that gun that's going to get any more performance. So if the gun's chambered in 7.62 by 39, what difference does it make if you have a $1,000 WBP, or if you got a $700 Wasser, or if you got a $1,600 barrel 7.62 by 39? It just doesn't matter. So I just don't see the point in paying more for a gun to get the same performance out of your 7.62 by 39. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, Brad, we've gone 2.5 hours, and I know it's approaching midnight. I'm gonna read this last comment to you. It's the last super chat that we have. I apologize to everyone. There were so many questions. Brad, I don't know if you can see the comment section, but
no, I can't.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I've gone live dozens of times with dozens of guests, and I would say, like, next to Mishiko, this has been the most interaction in the comments ever.
Good.
So I just I want you to really understand that when you think about shutting the channel down. Like, a lot of people would really hate to see you go. A lot of people are thoroughly engaged with the content that you're putting out, and people really value your opinion, even if they don't necessarily agree with it all the time. It's nice to hear opposing opinions, I think. So Lucky Larry tips $2, and he says that he's watched since day one, and he really misses your war story videos. So thank you for that, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, the war story things, it's like, I don't mind telling them, but, you know, some of those stories, you know, I'm messed up emotionally like a day after I tell some of those stories. So when I got outed the first time and I kind of got like completely pissed off at the internet, I was like, if I come back, I'm not telling the war stories, because, you know, why am I making myself that emotionally distraught just, you know, for the internet, you know? So that's kind of why I don't do it anymore. I don't have a problem telling them, but, you know, some of them, you know, some of those like harder days is just, you know, your mood's bad for like the next day, and you're cranky. You know, my wife tells me to go to bed, you know. That's why I don't do much of that anymore. But I appreciate it. I appreciate that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and a lot of people here in the comments. I mean, there's some knuckleheads in the comments, very few, but there's been a couple. I think there's no way of getting around that. If you're going to be that honest in your videos, dude, like, I'm not saying turn your comments back on. That is 100% your choice. But dude, there's nothing you can do about knuckleheads saying dumb shit, especially when you are as brutally honest as you are, and you don't sugarcoat anything in your videos. That's never going to stop. And, you know, like Trench Grenade said in his video, you've got 15,000 something subs. In a year's time, hundreds of thousands of people will stumble across your channel and see that content. Such a small fraction of them are going to be dickheads. I just really hope that doesn't push you off a platform that people really seem to be interested in you being on, myself included, as well as a lot of people in these comments. So with that, I want to really thank you for your time and staying up late. You know, you're on Eastern time. I'm on Central. It's much later for you right now. And
I'm also middle-aged. 9 o'clock's bedtime.
You're old. So thank you for staying up late with us. Dude, the floor is yours. Take us off, man. Let us know what you got going on coming up in the future, what you got going on now, or just close us out with some final thoughts.
Not too much. I'm generally my videos are whatever I'm working on at the time. So right now I'm working with PSA 101. I bought it specifically because it's a product that's commercially available, and people like to ask my opinion on stuff. So when somebody says, "Hey, what do you think of the PSA 101?" I don't like to just reference like the Rob's Key video I saw, or, you know, like what's his name? The name that we just talked about doing the 101 videos.
A Good Enough Gunner.
Thank you. A Good Enough Gunner. I don't like to just say, yeah, I saw this Good Enough Gunner video. I like to actually say, well, this is what I got with my hands-on experience. So unfortunately, I was hoping just to do like 1 or 2 videos, but this thing is turning out to be such a turd. I'm stretching it out to like 3, 4 videos. I think I finally got it like settled in to where it'll run for a while, and I'm going to run it till it breaks, and then I'm going to, rebuild it, fix it. And hopefully, like we talked about, I want to do AK Masters next year.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I want to, break this thing and then rebuild it so I can go to AK Masters with a rebuilt 101 and just say, hey, look, I fixed it. This is what I did to fix it. But that's what I got going on right now. If I do stick around, you'll see me with my AIM 74 build, just because I haven't had a decent 545 gun in a while. I'm going to do an update on the AR RPK, with the handle. Just, if you're going to use this type of weapon, you got to really be concerned with heat. Just some things that I'm doing just to mitigate the heat, and that's about it. Other than that, I'm just going to keep on keeping on and do at least one more live stream with Trench Grenade tomorrow at 6 o'clock. If I can recover from this late night that you kept me up all night, you son of a bitch. That's about it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, one thing I'd like for you to do when this video publishes, and it usually takes like a couple days for the comment section to populate in the live chat, and you could watch the live chat later.
Yep.
Watch that shit later, dude. People really do care about you, and they are at hundreds and hundreds of comments. So you should watch that later. And I know you don't like to read them, but you really should read these. And with that, dude, thank you so much for doing this, and hopefully we get to do it again. And with that, thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to leave this one up, so you can always rewatch it tomorrow.
All right. Bye, everybody.
All right. Love you. Bye.